The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 Belma. Girls, we are rich. You've seen that Luffy is a fool. Why don't you come with me? I can give you delicious food. Looking at Luffy, who was beaten unilaterally, Ace handed an apple to Heracross and tried to seduce him. Heracross was very direct. He took the apple and ate it, then rejected Ace. Most Pokemon will not abandon their masters. Even if they are abandoned, they will stubbornly wait for their masters to come back in one place until they die. Except for some cases, Pokemon will not choose a new master while the master is still alive. A certain Pidgeot has been waiting in the forest for many years. But not everyone can get this bond. Those who wantonly exchange Pokemon and only use Pokemon as tools do not deserve this bond. Ace just said so. He already knew the friendship between Heracross and his brother. You guys, you two are really a perfect match. Both of you are foodies. The farce ended with another farce. Garp was carrying Luffy to give him a loving education, but while beating him, the one who beat him and the one who was beaten fell asleep at the same time, while Ace fell asleep while eating. Only Hercules was left, trying his best to clean up all the remaining food in order not to waste food. But not everyone likes Hercules. Some people get a headache when they see Hercules now. For example, in Cocoa Village, Belma was about to pull out a gun when he saw Hercules in the orange orchard. Go away. Then you rhinoceros beetles, stay away from my orange tree. Because Tiger survived successfully, Arlong's hatred did not worsen further, and with the existence of Mandafesh, his views gradually changed. The most important point is that Tiger has always brought Aran with him, so he has no chance to come to Kakaosi to harm the people here. Although there is a rat colonel who finds reasons to collect taxes, he is still a navy after all, and he is a little restrained in his work. Most of the lower class people's demands are not excessive. They just need to eat enough, wear warm clothes, and survive. Except for the ambitious people, most people have no interest in rebellion, so the people of Kakaosi live quite well. But Heracross is not a friendly creature to Belma because they suck sap. There is not much sap in orange trees, but for some reason, those Heracrosses particularly like the sap of her orange trees. Heracrosses spend most of their time in the mountains sucking the sap of giant trees. Orange trees are almost like chewing sugarcane for them. Heracrosses are not without benefits. They can help Belma get rid of pests in the orange orchard. If they only suck 1 or 2 sap, she won't care at all. But these Heracrosses will forget everything once they get addicted. She didn't want these big rhinoceros beetles to destroy her orange orchard, so she had no choice but to drive them away when she found that Heracross were approaching. Just now, when she was cleaning the room, Belma happened to see Heracross flying in, so she came out to drive them away. Because Arceus had ordered not to hurt humans at will, they usually ran away when they were driven away, but this time was different. Belma's empty shots into the sky did not scare them away like before, and the Heracross even threw a stone at her. Looking at the stone rolling by her feet, Belma felt an aimless anger burning in her heart. These rhinoceros beetles were getting more and more excessive. Arseholes. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? I used to be an AV. She was very happy that someone liked her oranges, but she couldn't accept this way of liking. As he said that, he started to load the bullets, but a voice stopped him. Wait. A man with a windmill on his head came over. He was Aegean, a real-life version of Aegean. The windmill on his head was a prop he used to tease Nami, so that Nami would not cry when she saw him. He was the sheriff of Kakaosi village. Also because Arlong and his gang did not appear here, his body was not covered with wounds. He heard Belma's gunshots before, so he came here to check the situation. What are you doing? These rhinoceros beetles have destroyed many of my saplings. Can you support our family without them? It's not impossible. Ahem. What I mean is, look at this stone. He handed the stone that had just rolled over back to Belma. After wiping off the dirt on it, a golden object was revealed underneath. Gold? Belmere scratched it with his fingernail and looked at the marks left on it with an incredible look. It might be a nugget, but this is the first time I've seen one this big. When I was a kid, I heard my grandfather tell stories about gold diggers. Are you using this to exchange for orange trees? Heracles stopped what he was doing, nodded to Belmere, and then pointed to a few orange trees next to him. Here, all for you. You can eat whatever you want from these trees. Oranges are not as profitable as gold. These rhinoceros beetles can actually do such a thing. At this moment, they are no longer pests in Belmere's eyes, but high quality customers. Oranges are grown to be sold. She will definitely not have any objections to being sold directly at a high price with the trees. I said Belmere. No money. Nami and Noki have grown up. It's time to need money. This is not enough. If you don't mind, I can pay with my body. I didn't tell you this. Such a large nugget. There may be a gold mine nearby. The two looked at Heracles again. At this time, it was no longer a customer, but the god of wealth. That day, Belmere came home very late, and her body was covered with mud, but Nami and Nakiko saw an unconcealable smile on her face. Today's dinner was also unusually rich. Belmere's life was very difficult after she retired from the army. When the orange business was not good, she even didn't eat, and only let her adopted daughters eat. She only ate oranges. She told her daughters that she was losing weight and using oranges to maintain her skin. Although Belmere did not let them go short of food and drink, it was the first time that such a rich meal was given, and even made Nami and Nakiko feel a sense of fear. Belmere, don't you want us? No, I don't want to leave. Belmere. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I not want you? It's just that we have money now, and we will never be short of money again. Tomorrow we will go to buy nautical charts for Nami. Nakiko? Is there anything you want? Belmere did not explain why, but just told them not to worry about such things anymore. Chapter 627. Fishman Island Wedding. Disruptive Gunshots. Heracles was easy to communicate with. After they had eaten and drunk their fill, Belmere and Aegean asked them about the source of the stone, and Heracles took them to the place where the stone was found. Arceus did not allow them to actively interfere with and harm human life, but they wanted to eat those orange trees. Referring to the behavior of humans, they decided to exchange. It happened that they found this golden stone in a stream in the distant mountains. In their memory, many humans liked this golden thing, so they ran to the orange orchard with stones. Seeing that those humans liked it very much and proposed to exchange these useless stones with more delicious food, they certainly would not refuse and took two people to cross mountains and ridges to find the stream. After Aegean and Belmere successfully panned out the gold here, the two were completely excited. Judging from the current situation, the reserves here are definitely not small. Not only them, I'm afraid that the whole village can become rich by this opportunity. But Belmere asked Aegean not to make it public for the time being. It was not that she wanted to monopolize this place. She alone could not find all the gold mines here. But she knew what kind of people the navy here was like. When she was in the navy, she had her own coat of justice, which was a dress only for lieutenants. Even the retirement allowance issued by the second lieutenant would not make her life so poorly. So where did the allowance go? The result is self-evident. If they knew about the gold mine, a good thing would turn into a bad thing. The two of them panned for gold for a day, intending to improve their lives first, and then make long-term plans. The children did not understand so much, and after Belmere took the lead in eating, they also joined the queue. The two Heracles outside the door shook their heads, not understanding why those humans liked those useless stones so much. To them, gold was far less important than oranges. Now they found that not only the juice of orange trees tasted good, but their fruits also tasted good. And these Heracles had another idea. Arceus wanted to find stones, and humans liked to dig stones. If the stones they dug contained the stones Arceus needed, they would make a lot of money. Kakoyasi village began its own industrial transformation, and the fisherman who had caused Kakoyasi to suffer disaster in the original timeline now appeared at the wedding. Otterheim followed the advice of Neptune and Jinbei, and did not hold anything specially. She just brought her son and daughter to attend the wedding of Rusalka and Manfesh as a royal family. The wedding venue was at Court Square, which is the most commonly used venue for Fishman Island, and most public events are held here. As mentioned before, they welcome those who want to attend the wedding, and they have no objection to those who don't want to attend. Tiger, who had left Ghost Island before, has also returned here at this time. He and Otterheim almost represent the voices of most of the fishmen and mermaids. They all attended the wedding as guests, and other citizens naturally had nothing to say. Manfish, who was the last mermaid to marry a human. Director Goo many years ago, right? Zali, let me tell you, that guy must be a playboy behind the scenes, and he is not suitable for you. Aaron kept nagging something on the side, and Zali chose to ignore Aaron throughout the whole process. Boss Tiger, when you have time, please take care of this guy. His brain may be broken. Zali helped Tiger get a glass of wine, and hoped that Tiger could turn Aaron into a normal person. After all, Aaron would only listen to his opinions. I think he is drunk, but there seems to be nothing wrong with what he said. This is the first time I have seen a mermaid married to a human. No, Boss Tiger, Sister Kokoro also married a human, but that human does not live in Fishman Island, but in the Seven Waters. My brother told me about this. Another male mermaid took over the conversation. His name is Dan, the younger brother of Tom the Fishman. He is a shipwright and a researcher of the sea forest on Fishman Island. He has a good relationship with Haku, and has met Mandafesh several times, so he came to join in the fun. Your brother is Tom, right? How is he now? There is no news recently, but he should be fine. After chatting for a while, their eyes returned to the center of the square again. Otterheim did not plan anything extra, but she asked others to help a lot, such as the Seeking Army flying with bubbles and waving petals. In addition to the fishmen and mermen, there were also some humans in the venue. Some were Mandafesh's subordinates, and some were employees of the mining branch. Although the people working in the water were all fishmen, the people responsible for the handover on land were all humans. Looking at the venue below, Otterheim felt very happy. This was just an example, but it was a small step towards the disappearance of racial barriers. In addition to those who were willing to participate in the ceremony, there were also many people watching the excitement in the distance. These were the largest group on Fishman Island, the neutral faction. They had a complicated feeling about humans. They were not so hostile, but they were not willing to contact each other easily. Otterheim, it's almost time. It's time to read the oath. Well, I'll go now. Neptune is the king of the kingdom of Ryugu, but his reputation may not be comparable to Otterheim. At least among the people, Otterheim's reputation is much greater than his, so Otterheim served as the witness of this wedding, and found a pair of priceless rings from the treasure house of the kingdom of Ryugu. Everything is developing in a good direction, but some people have begun to grit their teeth at the scene at this time. As a member of the royal family of Fishman Island, doing such a stupid thing was extremely stupid in Hoda's opinion. He hated humans, and he also hated Otterheim, who was close to humans. This wedding was an opportunity for him. With so many participants and onlookers, he only needed to kill Otterheim in public, and then find a way to frame the murderer on the humans here, and his goal would be achieved. Otterheim, who was close to humans, would die as a result, and her death would also arouse the anger of Fishman Island. As long as this was done, Fishman Island would not accept humans, and he could further promote the concept of hatred. If possible, it would be best to stir up chaos, so that he could kill more people. He had stolen some things, while the kingdom of Ryugu was preparing gifts, which was also the basis for his actions. At this time, Otterheim had already begun to read the Master of Ceremonies lines, and the surrounding salutes were ready. While everyone's attention was on the stage, Hody took out a gun, and aimed at Otterheim in the distance. He wanted to shoot at the moment the salute sounded. Bang! The sound of salutes and gunshots rang out at the same time, but the situation he expected did not happen. Mandafesh had one hand across in front of Otterheim, holding a still smoking bullet. Chapter 628. Boss's talk is an art. What's wrong? What happened? Seeing Mandafesh suddenly raise a hand to the side, Rusalka showed a puzzled look. This action seemed very strange at this time. Sorry, my back just itched. Mandafesh began to exert force on his palm, and the bullet he had just held in his hand was directly crushed into powder. Then he shook his palm and the powder was quietly scattered on the ground. This was his wedding. Although he had already held one on his own territory, he didn't want anything to go wrong with the wedding on Fishman Island. This was Rusalka's home. If there was any accident, he would be embarrassed, so he didn't make it public. Hody guessed correctly. The gunshots accompanied by the salute did not attract the attention of others. The sound was very small, and most people didn't notice the abnormality at all, but Manderfish was different. His identity as a former captain of the Beast Scouts cultivated his vigilance, and his current identity as the #1 showed his strength. He didn't have the hobby of showing his observation hacky for no reason, but he was extremely sensitive to crisis. Even with the cover of the salute, his intuition felt something was wrong. Then he grabbed the bullet out of thin air with his muscle reaction. It was not difficult. It only required a little domineering and a little strange strength. There were many people who could do this in the Grand Line. Anyone who was famous had a way to deal with bullets. Unless the bullets were fired by those who had cultivated their domineering to a very strong level, the guns in the hands of ordinary people could not cause any damage at all. It should be from the side and rear. Is the target Otterheim? Damn. At this time, Manfesh suddenly pulled Rusalka over and stood behind her, then adjusted the angle to block Otterheim in the blind spot of the shooting range. If he wanted to hit Otterheim at this angle, he had to pass through his body first. The other party took advantage of the salute to shoot. It seemed that they wanted to assassinate him. They should not carry out large-scale operations, so he wanted to end the ceremony first and then slowly deal with the other party. But it was not realistic to keep such a hidden danger. If they really made a big move, it would be bad. Pearman. I suddenly remembered that I forgot something. It's a small gift for Princess Otterheim. You and Jinbei go get it for me. There's a purple circular pattern on the box. It's over there. Manderfish pointed in the general direction. He wasn't alone, so he couldn't leave by himself, so he could ask someone else to do it. Pearman had been his deputy for 10 years, and the tacit understanding between the two was beyond doubt. The purple circular symbol inside the beast meant that there was an enemy in ambush. Hearing Manderfish say this, he knew something was wrong. A deputy who couldn't understand the boss's hint would usually be sent out. The requirements of the deputy for the senior cadres were not only strength, but also brains. Manderfish told him that there was an enemy in ambush and asked them to bring the things over, meaning to capture them alive, and specifically said it was a gift for Otterheim, indicating that their target was Otterheim. But Pearman didn't understand why Manderfish asked him to take Jinbei with him, but at this time, it was enough to just follow the orders from above. Got it, big brother. I'll be back soon. Brother Jinbei, come with me. It should be quick. Okay. Wait, Aaron. Take a few people with Jinbei. There should be a lot of stuff. Move it back for them. Originally, Pearman only called Jinbei, but Tiger suddenly stopped them and asked Aaron to bring a few more people. Got it, big brother, but this guy's really unreliable. Can he forget things after getting married? Aaron would not refute Tiger's order and followed with a few people. Jinbei did not respond. He just noticed that a little abnormality. He is now one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The reason why the world government selects the 7 warlords of the sea is only one strength. Only those who meet the standard of strength will be specially recruited into the 7 warlords of the sea. Aaron can't notice it, but he can notice that even the shame of the 7 warlords of the sea cannot be dealt with by ordinary bullets, let alone Jinbei whose strength is still rising. The same is true for Tiger. He didn't follow him because he was afraid that there would be an accident at the venue after leaving. Originally, his strength was stronger than Jinbei. When he conquered Fishman Street, both Oolong and Jinbei were defeated by him. Although Jinbei gradually narrowed the gap after he began to grow rapidly, Tiger also had his own growth. Haki is the power of the heart. At the same time, there are rumors that the formation of devil fruits is also a manifestation of human wishes. This is a world where idealism has a great influence. Without a strong heart, you can't become a top strongman. Originally, Tiger's heart was dead, but after preaching, he suddenly found a new direction, especially after seeing the ideal utopia during the pilgrimage. His state of mind was sublimated, which made his strength also have a certain progress. Manderfish saw the departure of Jinbei and Pearman in his peripheral vision, which basically put his mind at ease. In his mind, this matter was probably done by the fishmen, because humans would not target Otterheim. Whether you want to be equal to the fishmen and the mermaids, or want to continue to enslave them, a living Otterheim is more in line with the interests of humans, and human pirates usually want living mermaids, not dead mermaids. He knew that there were extremists among the fishmen, and Aaron was one of them. With Tiger restraining him, and the influence of multiple factors, he changed a little. If Pillman went alone, he would have a conflict with the fishmen, and many things would be unclear. It is most appropriate to let the fishmen solve the problems of the fishmen. If it were not at the wedding, he would definitely solve the matter himself. As long as there were witnesses, there would be no problem for him to take action. He is also the son-in-law of the mermaids. As for whether the shot could have missed, he thought it was impossible. If a killer could choose the wrong target at this time, he should find a rope to hang himself as soon as possible. It would be different with Jinbei following him. Jinbei and Tiger are both fishmen with high reputations among the fishmen. Their words can convince the fishmen, so even if something really goes wrong, it will be easy to clarify the suspects. After they left, the wedding did not stop, and continued at Mandafesh's urging. Princess Otterheim, aren't we going to proceed to the next step? Ah, of course. This is the ring that Neptune and I selected for you. It's one of the treasures passed down by the kingdom of Ryugu. I wish you 100 years of hand in hand. Manfesh took the ring handed over by Otterheim. The ceremony was only left with this last step, but many things did not go as smoothly as he expected. This time he miscalculated one thing. The other party did not act alone, but a gang. Chapter 629. Taking drugs will cause hallucinations. The flintlocks in the pirate world are very strange. They do not conform to the characteristics of flintlocks in terms of loading mode and continuous shooting. The accuracy is much higher than that of normal flintlocks, but the range of most flintlocks is not very far. The gun in Hode's hand is the same. Because they live underwater and fight at sea most of the time, the most standard equipment of the Seeking Army is not muskets, but tridents. Although there are also muskets, the guards who follow Otterheim and Neptune do not carry such weapons. Due to the range problem, Hode is not very far from the venue. Hode, who has never left Fishman Island, is a frog in the well. He does not believe in catching bullets with his bare hands. Seeing that there is no reaction there, he thought he missed the target. He did not even notice the person approaching in this direction, and still aimed at the venue, waiting for the next opportunity. Alan was drunk, but when he saw the slightly serious expression on Jinbei's face, he also noticed something strange. Hey, Jinbei, is something wrong? I seem to smell blood. In addition to the strength that is 10 times that of ordinary people, the fishmen also inherited some characteristics of fish, such as the biological lamp on the head of the anglerfish fishman, that can be used as a flash bomb, the poison of the blue-ringed octopus fishman, etc. And Alan himself is very sensitive to the smell of blood. There is no need for Jinbei to answer. Alan has seen the target this time. Hode is aiming his gun in the direction of the wedding venue, and there is a human corpse next to him. That is the source of the blood smell that Alan smelled. The corpse was a pirate killed by Hode at random. Even if they arrived at the Fishman Island, not all pirates are strong. There are countless small fish in it. It is not difficult for an adult male fishman to kill such a human. This is the scapegoat prepared by Hode. Once he is discovered, he intends to let this person serve as a scapegoat. But he was too focused and didn't notice that he had been discovered. Alan didn't care about the death of humans, even now, but he thought of what Hode had said to him before. Those words combined with the current scene, what Hode is doing is self-evident. Hey, Hode, what are you doing? Just now this human wanted to attack Princess Otterheim, and I found him in time and killed him. The voice behind him startled Hode, but he still kept his eyes open and told the lie he had made up and stuffed something into his mouth. If Hode hadn't said a bunch of strange things to him before, Aaron would have believed this reason. He was always not wary of his compatriots. But Jinbei was different. A person appeared in an inappropriate place at an inappropriate time, and he was not so easy to believe the other party's words. Then can you explain to me why you pointed your gun in the direction of the venue? Faced with Jinbei's question, Hode could actually find a reason to fool him. After all, they had no direct evidence, and on Fishman Island, Jinbei would still abide by the laws here. but Hody saw Aaron and Pearman next to Jinbei. Brother Alang, have you really abandoned the fishmen, forgotten the hatred of the fishmen, and stood with humans? He had a little fantasy about Alang before, but the current situation was like seeing the verdict of his idol. Don't talk nonsense to me. Tell me, why are you here? Of course you want to kill Otterheim and rekindle the anger of the fishmen. Ha 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 ha. Brother Alang. No, Alang, it seems that the shot missed. In this case, let's start with you. What if the shot didn't hit the target? He had prepared before. His gang was lying in ambush nearby. Killing Otterheim was one of the goals. It would be best to arouse the hatred of the humans and fishmen present, and take the opportunity to kill all the royal families. At that time, taking advantage of the anger of the fishmen, he could become the new leader to lead the fishmen. Originally, he didn't need to confront Jinbei directly, but he was so angry that he even got a little carried away. This was the effect of what he had eaten before, the murderous drug E.S, hidden in the jade hand box. Hody found an opportunity when Otterheim and Nip were choosing wedding gifts, and stole this thing. It can give the eater stronger power at the cost of reducing life, and it will make the eater more irritable, which is why it is called a murderous drug. You bastard, actually want to hurt your compatriots? Aaron didn't care whether the person he wanted to kill was Otterheim. He cared more about the other party's racial identity. He didn't like Otterheim, but Otterheim was also a mermaid and a fellow countryman. He couldn't agree with Hody's behavior of wanting to kill his compatriots. Before Hody could make any move, he had already rushed over. He wanted to teach Hody a lesson. Facing Aaron, who was rushing over, Hody showed a dangerous smile at the corner of his mouth. He held the barrel of the gun and used it as a stick and swung it hard at Aaron, who was rushing over. Aaron was in a state of flying at low altitude with the help of explosive power at this time. This was his usual way of fighting. At this time, he had opened his mouth wide, and his hard teeth and huge bite force could easily bite the musket. He wanted to teach the young man Hody a lesson, but the result was completely different from what he expected. Hody's speed and strength were far beyond his expectations. He bit nothing, and was hit on the back of the head by Hody's stick. The inexplicable strange force knocked him directly to the ground, and he ate a mouthful of dirt, and fell to the ground. What? Jinbei's eyes widened as he looked at the butt of the gun that was smashed by Hody. In his eyes, Arlong's martial arts was very low, but he shouldn't be someone like Hody who could be knocked down with one blow. Ha ha ha, did you see that? This is my power. I'm the hatred of the fishmen. I will lead the fishmen to let humans know our fear. Jinbei, you guys are all heretics who will be executed. Madman. Brother Jinbei, if you don't do it, I will. Brother Mandafesh's wedding wine hasn't been finished yet. No, let me handle the fishman's business. Jinbei stopped Pillman and walked towards the slightly crazy Hody step by step. Seeing that Jinbei not only did not run away but also walked towards him, Hody's expression became more cruel. Knocking down Aaron with one blow made him feel that he was invincible. Jinbei, you are going to die. I will crush your head right now. Fishman karate rough Samet. Hody's big hand pinched towards Jinbei, and Jinbei did not dodge or avoid it, and let him pinch his head. Although I don't know where you get your confidence and strength, you are not qualified to be so arrogant. Fishman karate Samet punch. Chapter 630 Seeking X2. With a dull thud, Jinbei's fist hit Hody's chest like a chisel. The huge impact force penetrated through his chest, and Hody's blood almost boiled under Jinbei's punch. Woo wow. A large amount of blood spit out of Hody's mouth, and the hand holding Jinbei's head gradually lost its strength. Fishman karate is the power summarized by our ancestors. It is the power that can only be learned through long-term practice. The enhancement obtained by relying on drugs is nothing. Hody slowly collapsed on the ground. If it were his usual self, Jinbei's punch would be enough to make him lose consciousness, but the effect of the murderous drug was still there. This alternative stimulant made Hody's consciousness still clear. The pupils rolled back, the whites of the eyes became red due to congestion, and the murderous drug had a deeper and deeper impact on Hody. Not enough, not enough. Hody grabbed a handful of murderous drugs from his body and threw them into his mouth. The murderous drugs can double a person's strength, and this effect can be superimposed. Without considering the body's tolerance, the murderous drugs can double a person's strength infinitely. If 2 times is not enough, then 4 times. If 4 times is not enough, then 8 times. Hody did not believe that he would lose to this ordinary blue fat man in front of him. Why is this fishman who believes in humans so strong? Fishman karate 4000 tiles kick. When Hody tried to continue taking drugs, Jinbei had already kicked him on the head. Fishman karate uses tiles as the counting unit. The more numbers mean that more tiles can be broken or kicked at one time. 4000 tiles means that the force of this kick can kick 4000 stacked tiles at a time. This kick kicked Hody's head firmly. Hody rolled out like a rolling gourd, crashed through several corals in a row, and finally embedded in the rock wall. The murderous drugs he carried on his body were scattered all over the ground. Pillman picked up a few pills curiously and put them in his pocket. He thought Quinn might be interested in this drug. Although Hody was a weakling in front of Jinbei, after taking the drug should have certain research value, since it can allow a small fry to take a punch from the 7 warlords of the sea without losing consciousness. Pearman didn't know what side effects this drug had, but judging from its current performance, it was still okay. Ignoring your own strength and indulging in external things, how could I be defeated by you like this? Jinbei rushed towards the landing point of Hody, but his raised fist did not fall, because Hody embedded in the stone had completely lost consciousness. Then Jinbei pulled it out of the rock wall. As the strength increased, the physique would also become stronger, otherwise it would not be able to bear such strength. This is also the reason why the murderous drug will bring great pain to the body when it reaches its limit, and it may explode and die. The physique enhanced by the drug prevented him from turning into a fish cake, but still a complete fishman. Then Jinbei walked to Along and kicked him in the shoulder. Along, are you okay? Ah, I'm fine. Where's that bastard Hody? It's been solved. Let's go back. This guy should at least be sentenced to life imprisonment. Life imprisonment? This guy wants to kill Princess Otterheim, and he is a dangerous person who wants to kill his compatriots. Is this just imprisonment? Along, the kingdom of Ryugu is a kingdom. It has its own laws. Boom. Roar. When Jinbei was about to teach Along the law, thunder and lightning suddenly came from the original venue, and some terrifying roars came from the distant sea. Several people quickened their pace to return, and Hody was also carried on Jinbei's shoulders. At the wedding venue, Mandafesh turned into a dragon man again. The thunder that Jinbei and the others heard was made by Mandafesh. According to what a certain Murphy said, the more you worry about something, the more likely it will happen. Hody has his own friends in Fishman Street, and under Hody's influence, these people have all become extremists in Fishman Island, which is plan number 2 planned by Hody. If Hody still hadn't succeeded by the end of the wedding, it meant that something was wrong with him, and they would have to launch another operation. They were not the only ones taking action. Under their instigation, some fishermen from Fishman Street actually participated in the coup on Fishman Island. Even Tiger couldn't stop them. Those radical element who had taken the murderous drug were like madmen, launching indiscriminate attacks. Tiger's fighting style has always been close combat. Facing this situation, his force was very limited. Although he could kill one with one punch, there were too many of them. As a last resort, Mandafesh launched his own large-scale attack. Gyarados' attack surface was very wide. After a burst of lightning and thunder, the scene became quiet. I'm sorry, Rusoka. It seems that I've messed up. It's okay. I should be the one who's sorry. There are still so many radical people on Fishman Island, but what's going on? I don't know either. Let's treat the injured first. We should be able to figure it out after a while. With Tiger and Mandafesh, 2 men with extraordinary martial arts, and the Seeking Army led by Neptune, their rebellion was ended very quickly. Tiger dealt with the leader. Mandafesh quickly cleared the miscellaneous soldiers, and the Seeking Army was responsible for cleaning the ground. Few ordinary residents were injured, and the most seriously injured was Otterheim. Due to the existence of bubble corals, mermaids and fish people have more directions to move, and there is no trampling. Otterheim was not attacked either. Mandafesh was near her, and would not let anyone hurt her. However, her physique was too fragile. When the turmoil occurred before, she stood on the high platform and called on the people not to be afraid, but she accidentally fell in the chaos. She, who was almost glassy, broke her calf. Now the doctor is treating her. Otterheim was comforting Shirahoshi. Her children were brought to the wedding scene, but it was the first time that Shirahoshi saw such a chaotic situation. Otterheim also broke her leg, which made Shirahoshi cry in fear. Ordinary people would cry, it was no big deal, but Shirahoshi was the seeking of this generation. The cry caused by fear aroused the power in her blood, and the giant seeking sleeping in the deep sea also awakened because of this. This was the roar that Jinbei and the others heard. Several huge shadows have covered Fishman Island. Monster-like heads are now outside the bubble membrane of Fishman Island, and these giant seekings are now confused, because in addition to the breath of the king, there is another strange breath. Although it is not their king, it has an extremely similar feeling. The creature who can do this is none other than Manaphy, who has been staying in Fishman Island. At this time, he is floating above the bubble membrane, trying to prevent them from getting closer to the bubble membrane. It will be over in a moment. Good night everyone. Chapter 631. The hero with a bigger face than red hair. Manaphy was actually at the wedding. He was even Arceus' representative. He didn't need to take action against those ordinary fishmen. Mandafesh, Tiger, and the organized seeking army, and Neptune himself had certain strength. He was known as the Great Knight of the Ocean on Fishman Island. Even if he only relied on his size, he was much stronger than these ordinary fishmen. If there were not too many people, which made Mandafesh annoyed, he would not have needed to intervene in the rebellion here. However, the movement in the ocean attracted Manaphy's attention. The created mythical beasts all had unique meanings. Zerora was because of the fur tribe. Darkrai was to find the underworld. Genesect was born as a war machine group. And Diancie was for the economy of the beast fruit and a new playmate for Yamato. When Manaphy was born, Arceus had the purpose of letting him appease the Seekings. He has done this over the years, asking the Seekings or sea beasts near the deep sea mines to leave, and not to hurt the working fishmen. Although Manaphy is not like the Seeking here, who can directly command the Seekings after awakening his power, he has a friendly aura. All marine creatures have a default favorability towards him of being friendly and caring, and almost all of them obey his advice. Manaphy is active among marine creatures not as a king, but as a friend. In other words, he is the group pet of marine creatures. Although he cannot directly command the Seekings, his scope is wider, and both the Seekings and sea beasts are relatively friendly to him. Sea beasts and Seekings are two different groups. The distinction between them is not simply based on body size, but also on species. Mammalian marine monsters belong to sea beasts, such as those sea lions, seals and other creatures. The rest of the marine monsters, whether amphibians or birds, belong to the category of Seekings. In recent years, Manaphy has also discovered the characteristics of Seekings. Those Seekings and sea beasts have a high IQ, and the older they are, the higher their IQ is, but ordinary people cannot understand what they say. Although the mermaids and a small part of the fishmen have the ability to communicate with fish, it is limited to ordinary fish. Because the merfolk eat fish, they have no ability to communicate with fish, or because they cannot understand fish's language, so they also include fish in their diet. Merfolk who can communicate with fish are extremely rare, and all of them are kind-hearted people. As for the Seekings, only awakened Seekings have the ability to communicate with them. Manaphy, a special creature that can communicate with them, but is not a Seeking, has also attracted the attention of some Seekings, but this is nothing in their long lives. Stop. Stop. Don't get closer. Little one, get out of the way. Our king is crying. We have to protect the king. A Seeking with a crow's head made a slightly hoarse voice. This time they did not want to listen to Manaphy's advice. For the Seekings, the orders of the Seeking are the first priority. That's right, we are not going to destroy this place, we just heard the king crying. Do you want to scare your king? And the situation on the island has calmed down. You will only cause a new round of panic if you go over there. Manaphy didn't know who the awakened Seeking was, but when he came up, the rebellion below had been suppressed. These giant Seekings have perfect thinking ability, and they are not unwilling to listen. Since they are worried about the Seeking, let's use the Seeking to persuade them. Their size is a disaster for Fishman Island itself. With their size, there is a possibility of breaking the bubble membrane of Fishman Island. Although the fishmen and mermaids cannot be drowned, the influx of seawater will destroy many things. It is even more of a disaster for those humans who stay on Fishman Island. He makes sense. The king has not really awakened yet. We shouldn't disturb her. Look at the king's situation. A larger sea king appeared behind him, with a head shaped like a giant turtle. Manaphy even saw seaweed growing on his body. This guy may have been nesting in the seabed for decades without moving. He said a strange name, and even Manaphy didn't understand what it was. But after that, a sea king with a peregrine falcon head swam upward to a position with a wider field of vision. Sea kings not only have huge bodies, but also other biological characteristics. Raptor-type sea kings generally have better vision. The king is fine. The little guy is telling the truth. We will stay nearby for a while, and when the king stops crying, we will naturally leave. Several sea kings retreated into the dark sea around them. With the safety of the sea king, they chose to give this group pet some face. Among the group of sea kings, Manaphy's face is greater than Shank's. Don't worry, whoever hurts your king, I will teach him a lesson. But who is your king specifically? Shirahoshi was not the only one who was scared and cried. The residents of Fishman Island had not seen such a chaotic situation for many years. The older pink-haired girl. Oh, it's Shirahoshi. I see. Just watch from the side. The king's name is Shirahoshi. After Manaphy rode the ocean current back to Fishman Island, the sea kings who retreated into the darkness also engraved the name Shirahoshi in their memories. The sea kings temporarily retreated, and Manaphy, who returned to Fishman Island, encountered a new situation. He did not stay in the deep sea all the time. When the sea kings living nearby were persuaded to leave by him, he would return to Fishman Island to enjoy life. Even though he did not have the buff of a group pet for mermaids and fishmen, he had some sister fans and mother fans with his cute appearance. In Manaphy's view, he just had a friendly exchange with those big guys, but ordinary mermaids did not know what happened. Most people did not know the legend that the mermaid princess was a sea king, and only a few people knew it. In the eyes of the residents of Fishman Island, the giant sea kings inexplicably appeared around Fishman Island. They heard about the legend of Manaphy from their family members who worked in a mining company, and this time they saw it with their own eyes. Manaphy successfully resolved the crisis, and that was what they knew. So Manaphy immediately became a hero in the eyes of the residents of Fishman Island. Before he could figure out what was going on, he was thrown into the air by a bunch of people cheering. But some people were not so relaxed. Otterheim and Neptune were full of worry, and there was a slightly excited look in the shadows, as if he had discovered something incredible. Chapter 632, The Guide of the Sea King. There were no clear invited guests at the wedding. The open wedding welcomed all invited guests, which led to the appearance of many people who joined in the fun, such as Vanderdecken Ninth. Ordinary fishmen do not know these secrets, but Vanderdecken Ninth is different. His family has passed down this secret for generations. The specific identity of the first generation of Vanderdecken is unknown, and it is not even certain whether he is a fishman. A saying passed down by the Vanderdecken family is that the legendary mermaid princess has the mysterious power to make the sea king surrender. Pursuing this legend, the first generation of Vanderdecken set his sights on the seabed. According to the time calculation, in the era when the first generation of Vander lived, he may have seen the true ability of the Sea King, and the identity may be a human. After setting his sights on the sea, the first generation of Vanderdecken began to intermarry with the mermaids and fishmen, gradually changing the bloodline in his body. By the time of the ninth, he was no different from a fishman. The Sea King is the goal of this family's struggle. When Vanderdecken Ninth saw those giant Sea Kings, he knew that his goal had appeared, but he fell into deep thought. Captain, what's wrong? What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about what's going on with that little blue thing. Vanderdecken is also a captain of a pirate group. He also has a group of fishmen under him. They are part of the Fishman Street that did not obey Tiger's orders and became independent. Although they are not radicals like Hody, they are also different from other fishmen. The king of the sea should be the mermaid princess, so Princess Shirahoshi is the king of the sea. But that blue thing. Originally there was only one goal, but now the goal suddenly became two. Vanderdecken didn't know what to do. After a brief thought, he made a decision, that is, to do it in two ways. Shirahoshi is a royal family, and there is nothing he can do for a while, but he came up with a plan, based on Manaphy's range of activities. Let's go, guys, we are going to do something big. Vanderdecken left here with his subordinates, but Otterheim came to Mandafesh. Mr. Manderfish, although it is very disturbing, can you please come to Ryugu Castle? We have some important matters to discuss with you. It is very important. Although Manderfish and Rusoka's wedding on Fishman Island was just to make up, she also knew the importance of this wedding. She didn't want to disturb him, but it was about Shirahoshi, and it was also about the Seeking. This was a top priority for the future of Fishman Island. Manaphy and Manderfish were creatures of the same camp. Manaphy, who could communicate with those Seekings, should know some secrets. That's why she made this slightly unreasonable request. Is it about Shirahoshi? You Manderfish mentioned Shirahoshi's name directly, which was something Otterheim didn't expect. Manaphy had just communicated with those giant Seekings, but during this period of time, Manaphy was still enjoying the glory of being a hero, and should not have communicated with Manderfish. Don't be surprised, princess. I know more than you think. Manderfish is also one of the high-ranking members of the Beast's Pirates. He knows a lot of internal information. Translating historical texts has always been one of the activities of the Beast's Pirates. The historical texts that record the location of the Seeking are on Sky Island. Sky Island was incorporated into the rule of the Beasts a long time ago, and the rubbings of the historical texts also fell into the hands of the Beasts. Manderfish had already read the relevant information when he was stationed nearby. Although the records were not so detailed, he could feel the focus of the eyes of those Seekings. He made his own guesses after a little association. With Otterheim's current expression, he could completely confirm this matter. Rusoka, let's delay for a while. You can come with me. He was worried about leaving Rusoka in the place where she had just rebelled, so he took Rusoka with him to Ryugu Castle. Mr. Manderfish, since you already know, I won't hide it from you. Shirahoshi is the Seeking of this generation, and the Seeking's true identity is the Mermaid Princess. In the Ryugu Castle, Otterheim and Neptune drove away all the guards, and Rusoka was waiting outside the door. In the room, besides her and Neptune, there were only Manderfish and Manaphy. When he left just now, Manderfish brought Manaphy with him, taking him out of the arms of the big mermaid sister. Is this what you want to say, princess? If you want me to keep it a secret, then there is no problem. No outsiders will know about this. The Beasts knew about the Seeking, but they had no intention of taking action, because the current Seeking was useless to them. Not to mention the distant past, Manaphy could do something similar to the Seeking, and as long as no one else plotted against the Seeking, they could temporarily put the Seeking aside. The location of the stone tablet and the historical text are the two major goals of the Beasts now. One is related to Arceus, and the other is related to the location of the Pirate King. As long as the stone tablets are found, what Arceus made is far more terrible than the ancient weapons. Concealment is the most favorable condition for the Beasts. Manderfish will certainly not expose him, and even if he reports, he will tell Kaido and others. For Arceus and others who already know the result, this report is meaningless. I believe in your character. This is the best, but there is another thing. Otterheim is equivalent to a human lie detector. She can feel whether other people's words are sincere. In this case, she still used her observation color, and then talked about another thing. The Seeking will randomly awaken in the Mermaid Princess, but in addition to this, a guide will appear at the same time as the Seeking awakens. He will guide the Seeking to grow correctly, to prevent the Seeking from going on the wrong path. The impact of ancient weapons is destructive. If the Seeking goes berserk, except for the Red Earth continent, the small islands in the sea cannot withstand the power of these sea monsters. Guide? Yes, but we don't know who the guide is. I think that Lord Manaphy may be the guide. Mana? No, Princess Sister, why do you think I'm the guide? Manaphy forgot how to speak human language for a moment. He couldn't understand why Otterheim came to this conclusion. You appeared here at a time similar to the birth time of Shirahoshi, and you can also communicate with Seekings. According to royal records, that is the privilege of Seekings. I don't know why you can do it, but I think there must be some connection between them. I can sense the innocence in your heart. Manaphy, are you willing to be Shirahoshi's friend? Chapter 633, Shark Fishman's Inherited Toughness. Be friends with her? Yes. Teach her to use her power correctly and not become the source of disaster. These are the two things that Otterheim wants to do. She hopes that Manderfish can keep certain secrets, and at the same time, she hopes that Manaphy can become the guide. Although the guide should be a human, Manaphy is not a mermaid or a fishman. The power in his body is beyond Otterheim's understanding, making all marine creatures feel close to him, just like the son of the sea. In Otterheim's view, Manaphy, who can communicate with the Sea Kings, is a natural guide for the Sea Kings. The strongest ability of the Sea King is to command the Sea Kings, and Manaphy can communicate with the Sea Kings. In Otterheim's view, this kind of communication is better than commanding, and only such creatures can correctly guide the future Sea Kings. The most important thing is that she can feel the purity of Manaphy's heart without the slightest filth, and she can no longer find a more suitable object in her cognition. The Sea King has clear instructions, and the mermaid princess who can command the Sea Kings is the Sea King, but her guide does not. Manaphy's ability is too suitable, and she is simply a natural teacher for the Sea King. Moreover, Manaphy is different from other mythical beasts. Among all the mythical beasts created so far, Manaphy has the lowest intelligence, and behaves and speaks more like a half-grown child. The guide is not just to teach the Sea King, but a special partner who lives and grows up with him. So Otterheim is talking about a friend. Birds of a feather flock together. People are influenced by their surroundings and relatives and friends. Manaphy's innocent character should be able to put Shirahoshi on the right track. Okay, I like making friends. I have many friends in the sea. I can take her to meet those friends. Otterheim and Manaphy quickly reached a consensus, but Mandafesh looked a little strange. Manaphy will not teach people to be bad, but will instinctively carry out missionary activities. The most outstanding example is Setsuna. No one deliberately preaches to her, and she is not a fanatic, but her battle line with Arceus is firmly bound. Setsuna at that time was about the same age as Shirahoshi now. Mandafesh has already predicted what it will be like in 10 years. King Neptune, excuse me. Boss Tiger and Boss Jinbei have been waiting with the leaders of the rebels for a long time. Do you want to let them in? Let them in quickly. This matter needs to be dealt with as well. Otterheim rubbed her head with a headache. This was the last thing she wanted to face. Jinbei and Tiger had a high reputation in Fishman Island. Even in Ryugu Castle, they were honored guests. If it wasn't for the matter of the Sea King, they really wouldn't let them wait that long. Otterheim, you should go and rest first. I can take care of the rest. After all, your leg is seriously injured. Until now, Otterheim has been using bubble corals to move around. This is one of the few advantages of Fishman Island. The bubbles created by bubble corals can serve as natural wheelchairs. Even if you break your leg, you can still float with this thing. Because of the existence of this item, even if you have injured your leg before, Otterheim can still move freely after bandaging it. I can still hold on for a while. Otterheim, you should go and rest. Shirahoshi is also frightened. You can take Manaphy down to get familiar with her. Okay, then you can handle this. Seeing that Neptune kept persuading her like this, she took Manaphy to the room where Shirahoshi lived. Neptune sent Otterheim away for a reason, because Otterheim was too kind and merciful. Even if the actions of Hody and others caused serious consequences, in Otterheim's view, the other party could still be forgiven if they knew to repent. Otterheim's kindness was close to weakness, but she was not hypocritical. No matter who the object was, she maintained her usual style. Even if Hody wanted to kill her, she could still forgive him. But what Hody and others started was a rebellion. For the royal family, this kind of rebellion was unforgivable. Even if the participants could be forgiven, the leader must be dealt with. 2 years after the original timeline, Hody and his companions were all imprisoned and awaiting trial after their failure. However, before the trial began, those guys became old men due to the side effects of the murderous drug, and they only had a few days left. This time was different. Hody's drug-taking behavior was interrupted by Jinbei. He did not take such a large amount of murderous drugs, and what he did this time had a greater impact in Neptune's eyes. Murdering the queen, attempting to overthrow the regime of Fishman Island, interfering with Mandafesh's wedding, and provoking conflicts between fishmen and humans are all serious crimes, and it is impossible not to deal with them. Especially since he was still making trouble at Mandafesh's wedding. If he really succeeded, the beasts would definitely retaliate, and now Fishman Island is still Whitebeard's territory, and a full-scale war between the two pirate groups will break out. According to the previous results, Whitebird may not be able to gain an advantage. Even if Fishman Island is not destroyed in the battle between the two, Fishman Island, which has lost its shelter, will definitely return to its previous state. Under the protection of Whitebird's flag and the actions of the beasts, there have been few cases of kidnapping and trafficking on Fishman Island in recent years. The number of fishmen and mermen in the market has become increasingly scarce. Once that situation returns, it will make Fishman Island even worse and bring about a disaster like the extinction of the race. Even he would not forgive Hody for this matter. Out of sight, out of mind. Letting Otterheim leave first is the best choice. Under the escort of Jinbei and Tiger, Hody and others were quickly brought here. With them watching, Hody could not stir up any waves at all. Hody Jones, do you plead guilty? Plead guilty? Neptune, what crime have I committed? Murder, rebellion, endangering the future of Fishman Island. What do you think you are doing? Looking at Hody with a look of disdain, Neptune's face also showed anger. The future? Neptune, Jinbei, Tiger, you guys are the ones who are destroying the future of Fishman Island. You guys who are close to humans are all sinners. Do you think that a mere chain can bind me? Hody's muscles began to swell, trying to break free from the chains on his body, but the next moment, his muscles suddenly began to shrink like a deflated balloon. His skin became extremely loose, and a lot of wrinkles appeared on his face. Almost in the blink of an eye, he turned from a young man of 18 or 19 into an old man in his 60s or 70s. The side effects of the murderous drug began to appear. Because he was still young and had not taken so many murderous drugs, the degree of his aging was slightly reduced. But even though he became an old man, he still scolded Neptune and Otterheim as if he had suffered a great injustice. The royal family, Jinbei, Tiger, Along, even Whitebird and Mandafesh were all scolded by him. Hody, as the king of the kingdom of Ryugu, I sentence you to death. Fishman Island rarely executes the death penalty, but Hody is an exception. Now he has gone too far. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634 Execution. Ha ha ha. Neptune, you are afraid, you are worried that our will be passed on, but it is useless. The anger of the fishmen will not disappear. Even if you kill me, it will be useless. You guy. Even Jinbei, who was a good guy, looked at him with an ugly expression. His words included all the peace-loving people in Fishman Island. Forget it, give up trying to reason with him. He thinks he is a hero in his bones. A person who never thinks he is wrong will not admit his mistakes. You humans are very understanding. Then you should understand that you scum should be. Snap. Before Hody could finish his words, Mandafesh's beastly dragon claws broke Hody Jones' neck. Sorry, although I'm also a villain, I'm not interested in listening to your paranoid nonsense. King Neptune, I'm sorry, you have already sentenced him to death. I can't stand it anymore. This guy's words are too harsh. In his series of insults, Rusalka was also counted in by him, which was beyond Mandafesh's tolerance limit. He would feel uncomfortable if he didn't deal with this guy. It's okay, the result is no different. Neptune has no hobby of publicly executing others, and there is no point in publicly executing such fanatical extremists. If he were to start the era of Fishman Rebellion with a shout, it would be a lot of fun for Fishman Island. The direct cause of the Great Pirate Era was Roger, but if there was no warrior who asked where the treasure was, Roger might really change his mind. Although it was just an accident, the world government deliberately maintained a chaotic situation. In this case, the person who asked the question might be a shill. As for whether it was Roger or the world government who found him, only he himself knew. King Neptune, although I'm a human, this is also Rusalka's home, and she will come back often in the future. I have to say one more thing. A guy like Hody can lead so many opponents with just a few words. The management of Fishman Island needs to be strengthened. I will go back first, if I have nothing else to do. In addition to the leader Hody and others, there are also some ordinary fishmen who were instigated. This kind of thing is not surprising. No matter which race, there are some people who do not know right from wrong and believe everything they hear. Mandafesh said this because he hoped that Neptune would take good care of it and let some hesitant people see that there is no punishment for participating in the rebellion, which will be troublesome next time. In the end, Hody Jones was executed and several cadres were sentenced to life imprisonment. They would not be in prison for too long after taking the murderous drug. They had already wasted their youth through the drug. As for the ordinary participants, they were also punished according to the severity of the nature with the participation of the seeking army. This matter is almost over. Manaphy and Shirahoshi met, and Manaphy had a good impression of the big new friend. But within a few days, Mandafesh had not returned to the island where he was stationed, but Manaphy received a new situation. Have you discovered a new mineral deposit? Yes, it was discovered by a group of newcomers, but there seem to be seekings living there. Lord Manaphy, please handle this matter. A fisherman who joined the beast fruit reported the situation to Manaphy. The working fishermen have been constantly looking for new mineral deposits. There are too many unknowns in the vast ocean, and some rare mineral deposits with small reserves are limited mining targets. Once there are seekings living nearby, Manaphy will persuade them to leave. This has become a fixed process, and this time is no exception. Okay, leave it to me, White Star. I have to go to work, and I will play with you when I come back. He gave White Star a strange nickname, and many of his friends have similar nicknames. I know. Deep in the sea, Manaphy walked on the road with a new mining team. Has it not arrived yet? It will be there soon. This time it was discovered by a team of newcomers. They said it is in the seabed basin ahead, and they are waiting here now. In the deep sea, a pirate ship was floating nearby. The pirate flag was painted with a skull with two crossed swords and fangs. Both the sails and the hull were seriously damaged. The words Flying Dutchman could still be vaguely seen on the sails. This was the pirate ship of Vanderdecken 9th. He was the user of the target fruit, and was hiding in a bubble at this time. Because he had obtained the fruit power, he had lost the ability of the fishman to swim well. Therefore, when he was active in the water, he had to apply a swimming coating on his body as a protective measure, otherwise he would become weak. The weirdo that the employee mentioned before was him. The mining branch had been recruiting workers, and Vanderdecken 9th applied for the position of an employee a few days ago. Because he had figured out the activity patterns of the mining company, as long as the seekings were found near the newly discovered mineral deposits, Manaphy would go to expel them, and this was the opportunity in Vanderdecken 9th's eyes. An opportunity to catch Manaphy, so he sneaked into the other party's company, and led the other party here. In order to make it more realistic, he also worked for several days with bubble film. Watatsumi. Pull faster, they should be here. Okay, Captain Vanderdecken. The Flying Dutchman was not coated, and the worn hull had long lost its power under the sea. The reason why it could move was not the push of the ocean current, but something was pulling the boat. The creature pulling the boat was the Watatsumi mentioned by Vanderdecken 9th, a huge red-finned pufferfish man. The hair and beard almost formed a circle, and there was a small spike on the top of the head. A few sparse big teeth could be seen in the open mouth. The body like a sea monster has no enemies in the sea, but Watatsumi is not mentally mature. Like a child, he almost obeyed Vanderdecken's words, which is why he became a member of his pirate group. You have to listen to my instructions later. You must catch that little blue guy. It will be troublesome if he becomes alert. I know, Captain. I will catch that little guy, but what does he look like? For Watatsumi, many things are little guys, and only one blue one is too general. Blue, like a water drop, and then, how should I describe it? Is it like me? Yes, that's it. Just as Vanderdecken 9th was struggling to describe the appearance of Manaphy, a voice suddenly came to his ear. Manaphy was sitting on the head of a swampert, and looking at him. It was not just one swampert that followed Manaphy, but a group of them. When a new mineral deposit was discovered, the swamperts would always follow Manaphy to go mine first, and now these swamperts were staring at Vanderdecken 9th with ferocious eyes. For ordinary marine creatures, Manaphy is a group of pets, not to mention swampert, which is also a Pokemon. Chapter 635. Manaphy discovers excellent employees. Looking at Manaphy in front of him, Vanderdecken 9th suddenly panicked. The surprise came too suddenly. Vanderdecken Ninth's brain circuit is very novel. When he found out that Shirahoshi was the seeking, his inner thought was to marry him. Whether it was body shape, age, identity, or appearance, the two had an insurmountable gap. But that was the first thought that came to his mind. In order to get close to the seeking smoothly, the Vanderdecken family has always adopted into marriage to change their bloodline in this way, so this behavior has been ingrained in Vanderdecken Ninth's bones. In his opinion, marrying the other party is the best way to control the seeking. He also has a very strange idea about Manaphy. Both of them are men, so there is no way. He is really not interested in men. But he can wait until he and Shirahoshi have a daughter, and then let Manaphy be his son-in-law. This is his long-term development policy. Shirahoshi is a royal family, and will not leave the kingdom of Ryugu. His position is very stable. In order to prevent Manaphy from disappearing, he wants to capture the other party directly. Plans can't keep up with changes. He didn't know when Manaphy appeared here, but it seemed that he had heard what he just said. After hearing those words, he still had such an innocent tone, which made him want to try to seduce him. Ahem, Mr. Manaphy, it's like this. I have a very grand ideal. I wonder if you are willing to listen to it? Vanderdecken Ninth stretched out a hand to Manaphy. As long as Manaphy had contact with him once, he would be able to find Manaphy, no matter where he went. This is the ability of his target fruit. Touching the opponent's body with your palm can lock it as a target. As long as the opponent is targeted, the objects thrown by Vanderdecken Ninth will automatically track the target to the ends of the earth. And this throw is not a physical throw. As long as he touches the object and makes a throwing motion, even the objects he can't lift will be affected by the ability and fly out. It is the same for small flying knives and axes, and large Noah, unless it is shot down or blocked by an obstacle on the way, it will stop tracking. Each hand can lock onto a target. If you wash your hands, the target locked onto by that hand will be removed. You must touch the target again to lock onto it again. In order to prevent locking onto the wrong target, Vanderdecken Ninth usually wears gloves. He has even made a plan to hold Manaphy in his left hand and White Star in his right hand in this life. The price is that he cannot wash his hands in this life. At this time, Vanderdecken Ninth took off the gloves on his hands. It seemed that he wanted to express respect, but in fact he wanted to mark Manaphy. But Manaphy had no interest in this. So you said that you found mineral deposits here, but you were also lying to me. This time, this was the problem he was concerned about. This was his job. If someone lied to him in this regard, he would be very angry. He still had that cute face, but Manaphy's tone became much colder. Catch him. The expression on Vanderdecken Ninth's face suddenly became very excited. This was not quite the same as he planned, but the target was in front of him, so how could he give up? There were no mineral deposits here. He was just fooling the other party. The other party's changed tone showed that he was not as easy to fool as a child. If he continued like this, he would be exposed sooner or later. It would be better to take action directly. At this time, he ignored the danger in front of him, because it was undoubtedly a very unwise act to duel with Manaphy in the deep sea. Manaphy himself was not a weak chicken without any strength, and what he was best at was to shake people. The reason why Vanderdecken Ninth tricked him here was that he had discovered mineral deposits, so Manaphy himself brought a group of strong miners. Swampert is a Pokemon that replaces impact drills in power hammers in the seabed. The explosive power of its arms that can easily lift a ton of weight is even more terrifying. Seeing that Vanderdecken Ninth was going to take action against their group pet, they didn't need Manaphy to say anything. They had already started their own actions. Several Swamperts opened their mouths wide, and mud bombs cut through the water and hit the fisherman pirates. Even underwater, they achieved an alternative fire suppression. After the mud bomb hit the target, it dispersed. When a large amount of mud was released, the seawater here became turbid. Even the fishermen could not see the target in front of them, and could only wave their weapons randomly. Swampert is different. They can live in swamps, and have evolved the ability to see in turbid water. Taking this opportunity, the second echelon of Swampert has rushed into the crowd. The muscles on their arms burst out with strange power, and every punch was accompanied by screams. The already dilapidated Flying Dutchman had several more large holes and was close to the edge of disintegration. Vanderdecken Ninth's target fruit can automatically lock the enemy, but he has never touched anyone, so he naturally lost this ability. Vanderdecken Ninth's physical skills are poor, and his combat effectiveness is not as good as that of ordinary fishmen. Moreover, he is also a capable person. He can move freely by relying on the bubble membrane on his body. If the bubble membrane is broken, he will become weak in minutes. Watatsumi. What are you waiting for? Catch him. Okay, Captain Vanderdecken, watch me. Captain, I can't see where he is. How about you tell me where he is first? Watatsumi was about to take action, but soon found that he couldn't find Manaphy. With a child's mind, he instinctively asked the parent in his mind, "Idiot, can't you get rid of this muddy water first? Oh, you are worthy of being the captain. Good idea." Watatsumi took a big gulp and sucked in a lot of clean seawater from the side. He was a puffer fisherman, and his body expanded like a giant balloon and then spit it out towards the Flying Dutchman. A large amount of seawater washed away the turbid seawater nearby and also blew away many fishmen, who were all fishermen pirates knocked down by Swampert. "Captain, wait a minute, I'll catch him." "Interesting, you two go deal with that ugly four-legged guy. I'll catch this big guy." Manaphy thought Watatsumi was stupid, and it was a waste of talent for such a stupid big guy not to go mining, so Manaphy decided to add a tough guy to the mining company. A strange sound wave came out of Manaphy's body, and in the mud not far away, a strange fish with lobster claws seemed to hear the call and swam towards Manaphy. Although Vanderdecken Ninth was talking nonsense, it was very easy for Manaphy to find a seeking in the sea. Chapter 636, Manaphy's Secret Skills. Manaphy thought that a silly big guy like Watatsumi only needed to be provided with food, and there was no need to pay him a salary. Although the food expenses of such a big guy were much higher than those of ordinary employees, the benefits brought by doing it well were also real. The giant Swamperts were a little short to deal with this big guy, so he chose to ask for help. Why should he do it himself when he could let others solve the problem for him? Watatsumi himself had not been trained much. He was just a giant fishman who relied on his body to fight. To deal with him, it was enough to find someone bigger than him. Watatsumi was a rare big guy among the fishmen, but compared with the Sea Kings, he was a small witch compared to a big witch. Finding a thug was just a matter of words for Manaphy. At this time, the Sea Kings were still on their way, and Manaphy was in a playful mood. He circled around Watatsumi. He was flexible and moved freely on the sea current. Watatsumi couldn't touch Manaphy at all. "Here, come and catch me, big guy. Damn it. Don't run away. Captain Vanderdecken will scold me if I can't catch you." "Okay, I won't run away. Come and catch me." Manaphy came in front of Watatsumi. He was not even as big as one of Watatsumi's knuckles, but the difference in size did not make Manaphy feel nervous. Just as he said, he did not run away when he stood in front of Watatsumi. Watatsumi reached out his two big hands to grab Manaphy and clenched his hands tightly into a ball, fearing that Manaphy would run away. "Captain Vanderdecken, I caught him." Watatsumi shouted excitedly, as happy as a big kid, or he was originally a big kid, but Vanderdecken Ninth did not have the strength to answer Watatsumi. Just now, the two Swamperts launched their own attacks on him, and even used their own combination skills. The two Swamperts hugged each other to form a tire shape, rushed their tail fins outside, and rushed towards Vanderdecken Ninth. After performing the Iron Tail, they formed a cutting saw under high-speed rotation. With Vanderdecken Ninth's weak combat power, he could not withstand the frontal impact of the two giant swampers. Most importantly, the bubble film on his body was broken by the cutting of the Iron Tail. As a being with a bloodline very close to fishmen, he can breathe without the bubble film, but the side effects of the devil fruit also appeared. According to the legend heard by someone, the devil fruit is a product of idealism, symbolizing the wishes of some people. These fruits that violate the laws of nature are hated by the mother of the sea, thus producing P particles, a component for devil fruits. When the ability user encounters this component, he will become limp and powerless. At this time, Vanderdecken Ninth was already lying on the deck and could not move. "Captain, big man, you should think about yourself. Manafi's voice came from the palm of Minatsume's hand. He did not run, but his body melted into a stream of water and flowed out from Minatsume's fingers. Look behind you. I found an opponent for you. Without doubting the enemy's words, Watatsumi turned his head and looked over. A sea king with a pincer bigger than his head was floating behind him. Big pincer, help me knock this idiot out, thank you. Manafi waved his little hands and said something that Watatsumi couldn't understand. Hey, who is the idiot? Duang. With a muffled sound, Watatsumi's head suddenly became dizzy. I'm not an idiot. He stubbornly said the last sentence, and the Sea King's pincers hit his head again. The Sea King felt embarrassed that he didn't knock him out, so he increased the force a little. Now Watatsumi no longer had the ability to resist, and like Vanderdecken Ninth, he lay on the seabed. Thank you, can you do me another favor, and help me send this guy in the boat back to Fishman Island? The Sea King didn't say anything, but silently picked up the things Manafi needed with his two pincers. If it weren't for the fact that the Sea Kings couldn't do such detailed work, and Manafi's commanding them would cost him favors, he would have bothered these Sea Kings to open the mines. Letting them to mine is likely to cause landslides directly on the continental shelf, and it is also easy to break the minerals into slag directly, causing them to be washed away by the sea current. In addition, only Manafi can communicate with them, which will take up a lot of time. In addition, the economy of Fishman Island needs to be developed, and the idle population of Fishman Street needs to be solved, so the Sea Kings did not participate in such work. On Fishman Island, the guards of the Kingdom of Ryugu looked at the returning Manafi with an incredible look, saying that the people who went to mine brought back a group of unconscious fishmen. After hearing the news, Neptune quickly brought people over. Is this guy Vanderdecken Ninth? King Neptune, do you know him? This guy actually lied to me, and he also knows about the Sea King. Manafi swam to Neptune's ear and whispered to him. What? Manafi used the Sea Kings to scare him. At first, Vanderdecken Ninth wanted to be tough, but he had not hidden information from his brothers before. Under the threat of the Sea Kings, his brothers quickly told him his plan, including the fact that he wanted to marry Shirahoshi, put them all in jail, and don't allow anyone to visit. Neptune immediately issued his orders to the Sea Kings and personally supervised them being sent to jail. On the way back, they were all knocked unconscious by Swampert, which turned out to be a good thing for Neptune. As for imprisoning them, there was nothing wrong with it, because Vanderdecken Ninth was also a pirate. From a legal point of view, the Kingdom of Ryugu, as a member country, had the obligation to capture and detain pirates, but the special nature and embarrassing status of Fishman Island made this rule almost non-existent. After all, Fishman Island was protected by the pirate flag. The Sun Pirates had never done anything to harm Fishman Island, and they were even protecting Fishman Island. But the Vanderdecken Pirates are different. They are not under Tiger's management. They are a dangerous element on Fishman Island and they also know the secret. Although the laws on Fishman Island are relatively loose, these people are still inevitably imprisoned. At least Neptune will not let them go until Shirahoshi has enough power to protect himself. After this incident, Otterheim's favorability towards Manafi has increased a lot, because Manafi did not kill those people, but captured them all. This gentle method is closer to Otterheim's proposition. At the same time, Manafi also began to recruit Watatsumi. Although he is a big fool, he is really loyal to Vanderdecken Ninth. When Vanderdecken Ninth did not abandon him, he insisted on following the captain. But Vanderdecken Ninth did not pay so much attention to Watatsumi. Seeing that he was caught in the prison of Ryugu Castle, the other party was still interested in his subordinates. He simply sold Watatsumi in exchange for some treatment. In order to prevent him from escaping, Neptune not only put Seaston handcuffs and leg irons on him, but also a Seaston collar. The purity of the Seaston and the strength of the ability user will affect the situation of the bound ability user. Vanderdecken Ninth was basically paralyzed like a noodle under the fourfold restraint, so he simply exchanged Watatsumi for a slightly more comfortable treatment. Chapter 637 Brother Momonosuke should be living a good life, right? Manafi didn't care about the life or death of Vanderdecken Ninth. The Kingdom of Dragon Palace could do whatever it wanted. To him, he was just a clown, and he wouldn't bother with clowns. Hoddy Jones at least caused a certain impact, making everything look ugly, but now Vanderdecken 9th has almost no impact, and was captured by a group of miners. In the past, the giant swampers hit the rocks of the deep sea layer. This time, they didn't beat them into fish cakes, which was already a mercy. The matter of Fishman Island has basically come to an end, and Manderfish will return to his territory. But before leaving, he took the opportunity to promote their security lock to the Kingdom of Dragon Palace. That is, the magical fingerprint lock made by Quinn. As long as the fingerprint is correct, it will be electrocuted, and the keyhole under the fingerprint button is the correct way to unlock it. According to Pearman's report, Hoddy easily stole the national treasure of the Kingdom of Dragon Palace as an ordinary soldier, which shows that the security measures here need to be strengthened urgently. After seeing the outrageousness of this anti-theft measure, Neptune purchased several boxes like this. While Manderfish was leaving, Tiger also gathered some of his old subordinates to form his own Fishman expedition team, and Arlan was naturally among them, which temporarily shattered his dream of continuing to ride the Ferris wheel. On Ghost Island, during this period, the Beasts pirates had a new member Phosphoo. While the second generation of the Beasts were playing around and sightseeing, Phosphoo also successfully returned from the East China Sea and brought back the head of the king at that time, acting as his own surrender. Through this incident, he was also officially joined the Beasts pirates. Jack led his direct subordinates to carry out several missions, and after that, his men respected him a lot because they found that Jack was not so kind. In the previous battle, he showed what tyranny was, and he was completely different from the one who teased Frostmilk Fairy on weekdays. Brother Jack is so scary. Yes, he didn't leave any prisoners in that pirate group. This is different from the previous rules. In the cafeteria, several pirates assigned to Jack discussed the previous things in a low voice. Hush, Lord Manderfish held a wedding on Fishman Island a while ago. Those guys delayed Brother Jack for several days, causing him to miss Lord Manderfish's wedding. Do you think he wouldn't be angry? Jack and Manderfish have the best relationship, which is a well-known fact among the pirates stationed on Onigashima. I see that Brother Jack is still angry now. Do you want to practice with him? Thinking of Jack's horrible performance before, the people around the table shook their heads and changed the topic. How do you know so much? Of course it's gossip. This thing is very effective. Under the influence of alcohol, a group of people discussed the gossip within the pirate group, such as a recent unlucky guy approached the drunk Kaido and was hit by Kaido's stick, but he didn't die. After recovering in the hospital, he seemed to have awakened the signs of armed color. The Zorora family has not decided on the name of the child, and the news from the purchasing department is that Setsuna recently bought a few cat sticks. I don't know what he wants to do, and which lucky guy has obtained the grace of Arceus. The amount of earth moved by Yamato has increased significantly recently. Someone has established a Yuta support club, etc. Freedom of speech is allowed within the beasts, and it doesn't matter if you praise other pirates, as long as you don't say anything insulting. In the flower capital, Denjiro and others felt a strange breath. The tour of Grand Tesoro has long ended, and everyone has returned to Wano country, but Kazuki Hiyori who returned to Wano country seems to have become a little strange. They can't tell what's strange, but they always feel that she is very different from before. This is true both in her attitude towards the beasts and her response to them. It was a familiar visiting time. This time it was Denjiro who came to see Hiyori. Except for reporting to King, there were no restrictions in other aspects, and there was no need for a body search. Hiyori-sama, hello, have you been feeling unwell lately? No, how could I feel unwell? There is nothing missing here. Even if I'm really sick, there are enough famous doctors here. The doctors in the Wano country shogunate were enough to handle most of the illnesses, not to mention that there are doctors and several geniuses from all over the world in the Beast Hall. Hiyori-sama, please forgive me for being blunt, but you seem to be not quite right recently. It's just your illusion. But Denjiro, I have a question. What? Are you concerned about me or the surname of Kazuki on me? Hiyori Kazuki asked this question very calmly, without much emotion in her tone, as if she was chatting, but Denjiro found something wrong here. Hiyori Kazuki would not ask such questions in the past. Hiyori-sama, what are you talking about? Of course we are concerned about you, your Lord Dodden, Dinjiro explained instinctively, but halfway through, he suddenly found something wrong, and it seemed inappropriate to explain it this way. Oh, as expected, it's all because of my father. I don't have any other intentions. I'm living a good life. Let's stop here today. I'm a little tired. I'll take my leave. Dinjiro knew it was not appropriate to continue talking about other things, so he chose to take his leave first, but when he was about to leave, Hiyori Kazuki suddenly said another sentence. Brother Momonosuke, he should be living a good life, right? Dinjiro left here with a headache. Hiyori Kazuki's words made him feel that she was in the rebellious period of adolescence, and he couldn't figure out her thoughts at all. In fact, Hiyori Kazuki was just a little unbalanced. Although she was born in the open sea, she soon returned to Wano country and didn't know much about the outside world. She didn't feel anything before, because Momonosuke, who escaped, must have had a hard time. But this trip gave her a different idea. Life in the outside world didn't seem as terrible as she imagined. With enough money and status, the scum of the celestial dragons could also live a prosperous life. At this time, she misunderstood Momonosuke's situation and had some doubts about why Kazuki chose to keep her and send Momonosuke away. As the children of Kazuki Oden, why can Momonosuke live freely while she is subject to such great restrictions because of this identity? Kazuki has become a constraint, and it is the enemy who gives her the opportunity to travel. Apart from the episode with the celestial dragons, she feels that the outside world is very beautiful. When she was suffering, Momonosuke might be enjoying life. When this feeling appears in her heart, she can't help but feel unbalanced. 8,000 is not a small amount. Chapter 638, Shakira and the Stick of the Remaining Spirit of Fen 6. It would be fine if she had never experienced the outside world, but now it is different. In layman's terms, her emotions towards Momonosuke have changed a lot, and she has reached the edge of blackening. But this is not black, just because she says so. At least she has to experience the accumulation of time. On the other side, Yamato ushered in another misfortune. AGN 6.0 failed to retire smoothly like 5.0, but unfortunately died in battle. The cause of its death was none other than Yukara. Spit it out. You spit it out. That's not for you to eat. Yuki. Yukara scratched his head helplessly. This was really a bit embarrassing for him. He had an accident when eating just now. I don't know why. He was very hungry today, and he couldn't eat enough, no matter how much he ate. Looking at the mace that Yamato put aside, he had a desire to eat it in his heart. Yamato did not guard against Yukara. After she reacted, AGN 6.0 had already entered the other's stomach. Yamato tried to rescue him, but only got a handle. 6.0, go and rest assured. I will let 7.0 inherit your will. The destroyed maze could not be repaired. She couldn't dig into Yukara's stomach to find her own ken. Moreover, according to Yukara's digestive ability, 6.0 might have turned into molten iron. What's wrong with you today? You have eaten 5 times the amount you usually eat. Are you still not full? Looking at Yukara, who was digging the soil to eat, Yamato asked in confusion. Yuki, you don't know? Just feeling hungry? Diancie, help give it some diamonds. If it's still not full, you have to take it to the doctor. Yukara's appetite has also increased slightly in the past, but the increase has never been as large as today. Even Yamato knew that a sudden increase in appetite was not a good thing. After entrusting Diancie to make more diamonds, she continued to observe Yukara. Finally, she found the problem. As Yukara's body glowed with white light, she understood what was going on. You're going to evolve, Yuki? Yukara was completely enveloped by the white light before she could react. A long time had passed since Yukara was hatched. Kaido did not move back to an island directly. Arceus also aimed to raise Yukara, so Yamato was immersed in training. Although she had not yet achieved her ultimate goal, her strength was constantly growing. Yukara did not eat up an island directly, but a large amount of ore and soil were delivered to her from different places every day. Over time, the energy stored by Yukara was enough for her to evolve. Just now, because she was about to evolve, her body began to consume a lot of energy, which eventually led to the subsequent events. The white light dissipated, and Yukara evolved into Shakira. Her short arms and legs were now all gone, leaving only the blue shell wrapped around them. Shakira's entire body was covered with a grey-blue hard shell. Except for the pointed little horns on the surface of her body, there were only a few strange holes left. At this time, it was jumping around on the ground. Although it had lost its arms and legs, Shakira seemed to have become more active. It is now in the pupa form. The food accumulated during the Kira period has turned into energy in its body, which is supporting the body inside its shell to complete metamorphosis. Dang dang. Yamato knocked on it. Although it is similar to a cocoon, the hardness of the Kira shell is much higher than that of ordinary rocks. Kira motioned Yamato to climb on his back. Although he didn't understand what it wanted to do, Yamato still sat on its head. Then the dust below was suddenly rolled up, and the pores on Shakira's shell began to spray out violent airflow. With the power provided by the airflow, Shakira actually flew up. This is also the glorious moment in the life of this Pokemon. Although Shakira has no hands and feet, it is their most flexible stage. Shakira will compress the gas in its body and then spray it out violently, flying like a rocket. This ability will last for a long time until the day when it breaks out of the cocoon and evolves into Banjira. The airflow spewed out by the large Shakira is very strong, and a lot of waves have been raised in the inland sea of Wano country, which made Page 1, who was fishing, drop the fishing rod in his hand. All the fish ran away. There was no point in continuing. Just when he was about to go back with the empty bucket, he was suddenly stopped. Sister? Why are you here? Little Pei, look at Yamato. She is so happy playing in the sky alone. So, for some reason, Page 1 had a bad feeling. It was not a good thing for Alti to suddenly appear beside him. Let's go fly too. That big Pokemon can fly with jets, and your ability is also jet flying. Let's compete to see who can fly faster. Why should we compete with such meaningless things? Go. Little Pei, why don't you accompany me to play? Alti almost hung on Page 1's neck. To outsiders, it looked like she was acting like a spoiled child, but as a person who had experienced it personally, Page 1 felt like she was suffocating. Let go, sister, you're suffocating. Can't I take you flying? Okay, Peggy, you're the best. Both were jet powered, but Garchomp's flying was much stronger than Shakira's. Soon, Peggy 1 and Alti caught up with him and started a meaningless race in his eyes. However, Shakira was not Garchomp, and its flying time was very short. It soon made an emergency landing on the roof of Onigashima. After saying hello to the siblings, Yamato found Arceus with the remains of the mace. Godfather, Giant 6.0 has also met with misfortune. Can you help me make a stronger one? What did it go through? It was Kira. It seemed to have reached the edge of evolution before. It ate 6.0 when I wasn't paying attention, and then it evolved into Shakira. It's evolving quite fast. Don't relax later, or your father will take away the right to raise Shakira. I see. I think I have found a way to defeat Uncle Quinn, but my ice is not strong enough. Well, go measure your height. Your weapon should also be finalized. This time I will find you a few special blacksmiths. As the body grows, the weapon also needs to be updated. Giant 1.0 was just a child's toy. By 6.0, he has made great progress. Yamato's development is basically complete. 7.0 will be the final version, if nothing unexpected happens. It can be said that this is the final version that inherits the will of the previous 6 generations of weapons. It is an inspirational story of Giant 6 generations of strength and finally becoming a generation of extraordinary soldiers. But foster father, which craftsman are you going to ask to make Ken? I don't think the people of Wano country are good at making this kind of weapon. Just wait patiently, you will see it when the time comes. Chapter 639, The Giant Forger's Weapon Workshop. Not long after, Yamato followed a few pink little guys out of Onigashima and headed towards Rabbit Bowl, which is the industrial zone of Wano country and the largest weapons factory. Weapons mixed with Seaston and ferrous iron ore are sold all over the world and are the most popular weapons in the underground world. The second is the standard weapons of the Navy. Both are the most expensive, but the best quality options. No one will be stingy in this regard. Excellent weapons represent a higher chance of survival. After all, only a few people rely on physical advantages. Most people are ordinary flesh and blood. Excellent weapons are the foundation. In addition, there are also mass-produced standard weapons and Kaido equipment for the beasts. Some special arrows needed by Setsuna and the weapons of several major Kaido's assistants are all from here. The craftsmen of Wano country have certain advantages in this regard. Most of the weapons they make are of high quality, and the quality is guaranteed. According to the local custom of Wano country, those craftsmen will engrave their names or marks on the weapons to indicate who made the weapons. When the user becomes famous with this knife, their name will also spread, and this habit can also be used to hold people accountable. Damage to weapons caused by the difference in strength is harmless, but accidents caused by quality problems are unforgivable. Weapons with more complex components will be made in Quinn's laboratory, but Rabbit Bowl has the largest casting space in Wano country, which is more suitable for the forging of cold weapons. Don't you think it's heavy? Otherwise, I'll help you hold it. Yamato looked at the Pokemon carrying hammers in front of him and asked them. These Pokemon are giant forgers, all pink, with pink and white hair, and look very much like human little girls. The average height is 0.7 meters, but each giant forger carries a huge hammer on his shoulder. The size of the hammer is at least twice that of their body. Compared with the hammer in their hands, they look extremely small. Compared with their bodies, the hammers are more like their bodies. The leading giant forger waved to Yamato, and then played a trick with his hammer in one hand, indicating that Yamato didn't have to worry about such things at all. They look delicate, but they are a combination of fairy and steel. They are relatively resistant to impact, and the hammer is the foundation of the giant forge race. When they were still little forgers, they would collect metal residues from their living environment and use them to make their own hammers. This is a process of continuous effort. Before making a hammer that they are satisfied with, they will continue to forge new hammers. In this process, the little forge will accumulate rich forging experience. Even if the forging is finished, their forging career will not stop. The hammer is their weapon to protect themselves, but the strength of the little forge is not enough to protect itself, and the hammer is often taken away by other Pokemon. The hammer that incorporates a variety of metal residues is a rare delicacy for other Pokemon, or more precisely, those Pokemon that eat metal. If they are not opponents, they will abandon the hammer and escape like a lizard breaking its tail. This situation will continue until they evolve. When the small forgers evolve into skillful forgers, their strength will change qualitatively, and they will conflict with the commander of the splitting sword, because the sharp metal blade and solid armor on the commander of the splitting sword are ideal materials for them to cast new hammers. The skillful forgers will attack the tribe of the commander of the splitting sword in groups, and in order to test the strength of the hammer in their hands, they will start internal fighting, which is to knock on the head of their companions to see whether the head is harder or the hammer is harder. At this stage, they will continue to enrich their forging experience, and their intelligence is also developing rapidly. When they reach the stage of giant forgers, they will complete their growth. The giant forgers bring not only strength, but also higher intelligence. The steel-armored crows flying in the sky will become their targets. Although they can't fly, they will use the giant hammers in their hands as baseball bats. After calculation, they will shoot rocks as cannonballs, and the goal is the iron feathers of the steel-armored crows. Although the hammer is huge, for the giant forgers, it is an extension of the body, so they don't need help from outsiders. In order to prove their strength to Yamato, the giant forgers also demonstrated the fancy flying hammers, and passed their hammers to each other. Taking advantage of the Tanabata bluebird flight, Yamato and the others quickly arrived at Tuwen, and the first thing the giant forgers did was not to forge, but to learn. They were giant forgers that were created directly, and they were stronger, but they had lost the exquisite skills they had honed since childhood. In contrast, they had a forging learning speed that humans could not match. In the forge of Tuwen, the flames in the forge were burning fiercely, and from time to time there were large charcoal carts throwing coal in. It was full of shirtless craftsmen, and the sound of metal collision never stopped. The craftsmen in this factory were hired normally. The prisoners in the Tuwen mining field worked in the raw material workshop, and these delicate jobs were generally not allowed to be touched. The efficiency of voluntary labor and forced labor is completely different, especially the internal ranking mechanism. These people are unwilling to be compared with their peers, but instead compete with each other to forge weapons of better quality. Master Onaji, you are here. The guards at the door saw Yamato with the giant forger and made way for the door neatly. They were arranged here just to prevent some rare materials from being taken out privately, and they were the same as the factory security guards. Please come this way. Lord Arceus has arranged everything. The giant forgers went to different locations. Only one stayed with Yamato. They did not speak, but just watched the craftsmen swinging hammers, quenching, and grinding, madly absorbing experience from them. Lord Onaheim, please come this way. Lord Arceus said that you can choose the materials for new weapons yourself. She did not play a role in the factory. Forging is not just about brute force. Other giant forgers learned the skills of forging, and the giant forgers around her helped her choose materials. There is no need to learn to distinguish the quality of materials. For giant forgers, it is like an instinct. Under the leadership of other pirates, Yamato followed the giant forge to the rabbit bowl quarry, which was also busy. Hurry, hurry. Bring all the materials to the square. Lady Gigi will be here soon. Behave yourself, especially you guys. You only have a few months left in your sentence. If you offend Lady Gigi, Lord Arceus will not let you go. It will be wishful thinking to think of mining here then. Chapter 640, the result of being caught skipping class. The voices of resistance in Wano are basically here. Even if there are some left in the outside world, they are two completely different types of people. The prison is full of radicals like Hody Jones, while most of the people outside have given up resistance. As time goes by, even their hearts are changing. Those dangerous elements are all serious criminals and have no chance to contact Yamato, but the prison guards are worried that some of these ordinary prisoners will be bewitched and do some irrational behavior. Even if they just throw an ordinary stone or say an insulting word, it means that they are derelict in their duty. These are not death row prisoners, so the deterrence of the sentence is the best method. The iron ore, Seaston, the shell replaced by Boscadora, the rock fragments dropped by the fight between Geodude and the special crystals dropped by the giant rock monster, whether it is the underground mineral deposits or the materials produced by the Pokemon's body, are all carried to the square. Lord Babanuki, everything is ready. The empty square was piled with materials like a small mountain. In Wano country, these materials were enough to drive any blacksmith crazy. For them, this was a priceless treasure. With these excellent materials, they could complete the casting of many things. Even ordinary people could exchange this batch of rare materials for a large amount of funds. Apart from anything else, those high purity Seastones were not available in large quantities even within the world government, but they were just ordinary materials here. Very good, Devego, you take people to patrol more, and don't make any trouble today. It's already been arranged. Don't worry, boss. Those people still want to get out alive, and won't make trouble at this time. It's better to be careful. Some people in Wano country don't have good brains. You know that. Well, I'll go then. What Babanuki was worried about did not become a reality. The people working and the people in the prison behaved very honestly. Yamato didn't care about these people, but selected materials with the giant forger. The way the giant forgers select materials is very direct. That is, they use their hammers to hit them. They can judge the quality of the materials in this way. After selecting the right materials, the giant forger also returned to the forge and joined the giant forger learning team. It still takes some time for them to learn. The natural forging talent will greatly shorten their learning cycle, but it is not something that can be learned at a glance. It takes some time to learn. Yamato temporarily lost her weapon, but she realized that this was a unique opportunity. Huh? What did you say? My Aegean is broken, and the giant forgers are still learning forging, so I don't have a weapon now. I can't train with you, father, during this period. It's a pity. For her, this seems to be an opportunity to take a leave. Yamato, Jack, Mariah, Setsuna, Olga, they can be said to be Kaido's first term and second term students. At their level, physical training alone is meaningless. Moreover, physical training does not require Kaido's intervention. In this regard, Kaido is not as useful as weights. They will take the initiative to exercise themselves. Kaido brings more practical experience, such as the extended teaching of his Thunder Bagua, the practice of domineering and so on. Yamato spends most of her time challenging the big carders, but Kaido occasionally gives her a surprise inspection or extra training. The damage of AGN 6.0 gave her an excuse to rest. Aha, that's a good reason. Hearing this, Kaido shook the 8 fasts in his hand for a few times, and then put the mace aside. Father, do you think it's reasonable? Then swish. A few strands of hair fell, and green light claws extended from Kaido's fingers. It was the claws of the dragon. At this time, the extended claw blades had already deeply penetrated into the ground in front of Yamato. Wow. Are you going to kill me? How could that be? As long as you have a breath left, your adoptive father can save you. It seems that something has gone wrong with you. Don't you know how to fight without your weapon? No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, stop talking nonsense. I won't use weapons until your weapons are repaired. The animal type body itself is the greatest weapon. You have to learn to use the power of this fantasy beast. I think you may have misunderstood something, father. Looking at Kaido, whose domineering, devil fruit, and the abilities granted by Arceus were unfolding at the same time, Yamato had a very bad premonition. There is no misunderstanding. The enemy will not stop attacking just because you don't have a weapon, so you come to hone your fists and feet. This time, the subject is to use your fists to hit the Thunderbagua. Don't worry, I will go all out, including your adoptive father's power. Yamato's reason for asking for leave just gave Kaido a perfect opportunity. If there is no weapon, then fight hand to hand. There are many ways to train for combat, and it just happened to add a new subject for her. Kaido did not use weapons, but the dragon claws attached to his hands made his destructive power even more terrifying. Yamato began her unilateral beating again. It's not that she can't fight without a weapon. Kaido beat her with his fists before using a weapon, but it was the first time he used the dragon claw. Soon she was forced into a dead corner of the training ground. Facing Kaido's dragon claw, the barrier she was holding was quickly stretched in front of her. Oh. Have you been able to use the guard skillfully? It seems that you haven't been slacking off recently. The dragon claw was blocked by the barrier, and Kaido also expressed some praise for Yamato. Yes, so father, what I want to express is actually, she just wanted to find a reason to ask for leave. The various things Arceus gave her had a side effect at this time. She didn't even have a reason to ask for sick leave, because this physique would not get sick at all. But before she finished speaking, she saw the familiar purple fluctuations coming from Kaido. Wait. Dragon dance? Didn't I say I would go all out? Yamato, there is a limit to holding. It can bring stronger defense, but it is based on your own strength. You are still far from it now. Kaka. 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 After holding on for a few seconds, the strengthened Kaido shattered the barrier created by Yamato and approached her step by step. The strengthened Kaido basically crushed Yamato. She was forced to flee most of the time, and it was difficult for her to counterattack when she got the chance. From time to time, cries for help were heard from the training ground. However, everyone was accustomed to this and had no intention of approaching so as not to get into trouble. Is this the daughter that your majesty values? Innocence suits you very well, Zekrom. Ideal is not naivety. She is still far from it, but at least there is room for growth. It is such a blank slate that can grow, isn't it? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641, The Magical Use of Cat Teasers. In the special space, Zekrom and Reshiram discussed what had just happened. This was the distraction of their thoughts, and they could perceive the situation outside. Ideals and reality are not absolutely opposite. Although Zekrom and Reshiram symbolize different directions, they are not absolute enemies. Ideals rely on reality, and reality is born from ideals. The combination of the two is perfect. After a few simple words, Zekrom and Reshiram stopped talking and concealed their existence. They did not like to watch people being beaten. After a while, December 7th, 1511, Heian calendar, cloudy. The two little guys are very energetic. They may have inherited Zorora's talent. They are too active, meow meow. At this time, a cat's cry came from the side of Setsuna. Setsuna continued to write in his diary, and in his other hand, he picked up a cat toy stick and waved it quickly. The doll made of feathers in the front section was attracting his daughter's attention. Hey, is this really reasonable? Zerora, who had just returned, looked at Setsuna with a frown on his face. Zhao's parenting style always made him feel terrified. No problem, no problem. Zhao has been doing this for hundreds of years. After all, we are furries. You grew up in the open sea, so you don't know. It's just that your philosophy is closer to humans. These two little guys are too energetic. If they are not allowed to kill time during the day, they will not sleep well at night. Setsuna continued to wave the cat teaser in his hand, and even let his daughter catch it a few times. When her interest decreased, he would change to a new cat teaser. He even used Perona's negative ghost to work. Cat furries are always interested in similar things. There is nothing wrong with what Setsuna said. Zerora is not a real furry. His life philosophy comes from Arceus. It is basically common sense of humans and Pokemon. Even cat Pokemon do not use cat teasers to raise children. Suddenly, Setsuna's cat teaser passed in front of Zerora, but Zerora did not react to it. Look, you're the weirdest one. You're the first cat furry that I've seen that doesn't react to the cat teaser. Even that bastard cat VIP reacts. After all, the furry tribe has animal characteristics. For cat furry, the cat teaser is the best toy. At first, Setsuna wanted to use the cat teaser to play some tricks with Zerora, but he wasn't interested. Similarly, they also have an obsession with catnip, but not as strong as ordinary cats. Perfume containing catnip is the favorite thing of cat furry. If her daughter wasn't too young, Setsuna would really bring back some catnip. To be precise, she already had catnip flavored perfume, but she locked it away after her daughter was born. Although catnip does not affect Zerora, the perfumes of the fur tribe are all very light plant fragrances. If the smell is too strong, it will have a serious impact on their own sense of smell. As for me, no matter how fast you swing, I can catch it. Zerora also demonstrated her speed of almost teleportation and caught the cat toy in Setsuna's hand in an instant, and also picked up her daughter who was teased. That's why I said you are different from others. Speaking of cat VIP, that idiot doesn't know where he and Lunaria ran off to. Why are they running away? We can't really kill them. There are very few deep hatreds among the fur tribe. Because of their rare numbers, they are more united. She doesn't care about cat VIP. The fact that there are few deep hatreds does not mean that the relationship must be harmonious. If you want to rank a hatred table among the same tribe, cat VIP will definitely be at the top of the list, but Inara she is different from him. The fur tribe has also looked for them over the years, but there is no news at all. Don't think about it, it shouldn't be a big deal. But, how were you raised when you were a child? Cat fur is interested in cat teasers. Did your uncle and aunt wolf use bird bones or fish bones? Or balls? Zerora looked at the bag of messy toys that Setsuna bought. Logically, the things prepared for his son should be the toys that Setsuna played with when he was a child. I can't remember. I don't think that's important. Don't look for it. There are no toys for my son in it, only for my daughter, and my parents took my sons away this morning. As he was talking, Zerora took out a ball of yarn from it, and when his daughter became interested in the ball of yarn, the voices of Hatch and his son came from outside the door. Hatch and Ling would also help Setsuna take care of the children properly. When one child wanted to go out, and the other didn't want to go out, they would take care of them separately. When they heard the news, and looked out of the window, they also understood what happened. Fire and frost burst out over Onigashima, and at the same time, various energies burst out. It was obvious that Yamato and Kaido had started again. The fur tribe's daily childka continues, and Yamato is struggling to survive in the hell he created. Isuka follows Emmeline to learn the abilities of the mantis, and also exercises her own strength. Page 1 and Ulti have not reached this point yet, but they are very relaxed recently. Ulti even made a few hairpins for Yamato. Although she is very arrogant, her hobby is to make similar accessories or ornaments. Several frost fairies have sugar ornaments she combined on their heads. At this point, Ulti is very popular with the frost fairies. Sister, you actually made something for Yamato? I hope she can hold on a little longer. The longer she holds on, the more focused Kaido, the idiot, will be, and he will selectively ignore us. Do you want to experience his training? Oh, by the way, how many times have I said, don't call others sister, you have me as a sister is enough. Page 1 selectively ignored the second half of the sentence and thought of herself under Kaido's training. Everything else is easy, except Kaido's training. Sister, I'll help you. Do you need any other materials? It's better to let others take over this kind of thing. No one is more suitable for this position than Yamato. But such days are not very long. When Kaido's excitement is over, the two of them are also dragged into the battle, and it is a battle between siblings. Kaido gave a very strange reward. If Ulti wins, Page 1 will obey her orders for 3 days, no matter what the order is, and if Page 1 wins, he can live quietly for 3 days. For this goal, the battle between the two siblings can be regarded as using real skills. Time passed quickly, and soon it was February 1512, and Yamato's Aegean number 7 was about to come out. During this period of time, the blacksmiths in the forge had a new way to compete. Chapter 642, Locals of the Seven Water City. The forging talent of the giant forger is too strong. The skills and craftsmanship that they have spent half their lives to master were completely mastered by the giant forger in a few months. They are not like beginners at all, but like masters with decades of experience. Based on their foundation, the giant forger even made his own innovations. There are also factions in the forging factory. According to different inheritances, they all have their own masters, and they all think that their schools are the strongest. Now, which school does not have a giant forger to learn, is assumed to be a low-level craft. These skills are the inheritance of their family. They were not originally passed on. Except for those who are recognized by the master, ordinary disciples cannot learn the essence, and it is a taboo for outsiders to learn secretly. If the beast sent people to learn, it would not be so smooth, but the giant forger is not a human, which solves many problems. Since most Pokemon in Wano country have become grass-headed gods, various industries are looking forward to the arrival of their own grass-headed gods as soon as possible. It is also a very troublesome thing to find a suitable successor. The appearance of the giant forger is a new hope for them. The recognition of human craftsmanship by gods is the highest achievement in their eyes. Not only did they not refuse their observation and learning, but they also took the initiative to teach their skills to the giant forger. Dung, dung, dung. A muffled sound came from the middle of the forge. 5 giant forgers took turns swinging their big hammers. Kazuki, Fujitsu, Ugetsu, Shimotsuki, and Kuritan. Each family has its own craftsman and has derived different skills. Although these families have become ordinary surnames now, the craftsmen with inherited skills are still valued. Many famous swords come from the craftsmen of these families. Kyushu, Yangma, Chianaiwazen, and Wado Ichimonji are all like this. Now those crafts have been sublimated in the hands of the giant forger. The giant forger has to rest for a while before swinging the second hammer after each swing. Even the ground is shaking constantly under their hammers. This is the exclusive move of the giant forger, the giant hammer, which is powerful but cannot be used continuously. At this time, they are preparing for the forging of metal blanks. With their unique techniques and abilities, they can hammer out the unwanted impurities even without using a forge. Don't blink, watch carefully, that is the skill of God. If you can learn that kind of forging, you will definitely become famous craftsman in the future. A bald man with a pipe in his mouth patted the shoulders of the disciples around him. They were also watching and learning the craftsmanship of the giant forger, trying to understand something from it and create better works. At this time, they are just preparing materials, and there is still some time before the real casting begins. But the place where such a loud noise is made is not only the foundry, but also the same sound as coming from the mining field not far away. This is not the sound of mining, but the sound of sparring. At this time, Sasaki is colliding with Boscadora, honing his defense. He has passed the internship period, and it is reasonable to transfer here, but he took the initiative to apply to stay here, with the purpose of colliding with Boscadora in his spare time. Although he likes Kaido's teaching very much, Kaido doesn't have the time to practice with him every day. Most of the time, he can only find a practice partner by himself, and Boscadora is the most suitable practice target for him. As a Pokemon, it doesn't have as many jobs as others. Most of the time, it is very relaxed, allowing Sasuke to practice at will. Hey, Sasuke. Don't practice. Lord Kaido and Lord Arceus are looking for you. Hurry up and go to Onigashima. After another confrontation, Babanuki found Sasuke and conveyed a new order to him. Captain Kaido and the others are looking for me. It should be a mission. Go quickly. Yes. It's not a day or two since he joined. At this time, Sasuke has already figured out what is going on inside the Beast's pirates. Although he is still a fanatical fan of Kaido, he also understands what Arceus means here. He has been loyal over the years, so naturally he will get some missions. Lord Kaido, Lord Arceus, I'm here. What mission do you have? Sasuke, you were born in the Seven Water City, right? Kaido picked up the document on the table next to him and looked at the content. It was Sasuke's identity information. All the members of the Beasts made similar world certificates and filled out their own information. The main goal of the Beasts is to determine whether the person is an imposter. They don't pay much attention to other information, but they will ask again before there is a need for action. Some people don't even know what the island where they were born is called, so they will just follow the crowd and write an island at random. Yes, what does it matter? He filled in the real information, and there was nothing to be shy about. There is a mission to the Seven Waters recently. Since you were born there, you should be more familiar with it. It just so happens that you can go there. Yes, I understand. There are our people there. When you get there, someone will tell you the details. Just ask her what to do. Sasuke, who got the mission, quickly left Onigashima with the ship. His mission was not complicated. He just solved some minor troubles and helped the people there to investigate some news. The Seven Waters is one of the important islands on the Grand Route. If Ohara is a holy place for archaeology, then the Seven Waters is a holy place for the shipbuilding industry. There are many excellent shipbuilders here, and many well-known ships have been born here. Rogers Gold Jackson was born here, and there are many miraculous marine creations here, such as the Sea Train and Pluto. It was the craftsman on the ship who made the super battleship, one of the ancient weapons. Some time ago, a woman came here, that is, the contact person mentioned by Kaido and Arceus before Nico Robin. It wasn't long after she left Onigashima last time that she came here. She wasn't a person with a stable goal either. This time, while she was looking for news about history, she found that some documents pointed to the Seven Waters, so she came here to check the news. With her rich work experience, she successfully joined the local shipbuilding company and became a temporary accountant. However, when she continued to investigate the news, a large number of CP agents suddenly entered the island. The agents of the world government made her feel that there might be something hidden here, and Tesoro also entrusted her to help deal with some things in the Seven Waters. She also needed a sufficient force deterrent, so she borrowed someone from Onigashima. Chapter 643 Rotom Cell Phone Communications Company. The Seven Waters, now a very prosperous maritime city, has a large number of high-quality ships born here and sold to different people for different purposes. There are many shipbuilding companies on the island, but it was not like this a few years ago. 14 years ago, Roger opened the Great Pirate Era, and the sea became more turbulent than ever before. The Seven Waters has a developed shipbuilding industry, but there is no raw material output. All the wood and metal needed for shipbuilding must be purchased from the outside world. Sometimes an ordinary male also has to rely on imports. The Seven Waters is just a simple processing center. With the opening of the Great Pirate Era, the sea has become turbulent in just 1 month. Natural disasters, attacks by sea kings, pirates wandering on the sea, the vicinity of the Seven Waters has become more dangerous, and raw materials have become scarce. Due to its unique geographical location, the Seven Waters is hit by a huge tsunami called Aquilana every year. Because the scale of the tsunami is too large, the locals call it the gods of water. A large number of pirates made the import and export of materials in Water 7 extremely difficult, and the once prosperous city gradually declined. At this time, the world government arrested the local shipwright, Tom the Fishman. He was accused of building a ship for the Pirate King, so he was sentenced to death. It is not a crime for a shipwright to build a ship, and it is not a crime to sell a ship, but the Pirate King is an exception. This is the charge given by the judge sent by the world government's judicial ship. In this case, Tom made a proposal. At that time, Tom was unwilling to accept the desolation of Water 7 and was preparing his own sea train plan. He also proposed the idea of the sea train in court. He successfully persuaded the presiding judge and obtained a 10-year suspended sentence. During the 10 years of the construction of the sea train, many things happened in Water 7. The people restricted their children's travel because of the increase in pirates on the streets. Because of the decrease in the number of merchant ships, the shipyard owner took the risk of taking people out to purchase wood, which eventually led to the death of 50 people. People kept leaving Water 7, and shipbuilding companies kept going bankrupt and bosses committed suicide. It was not until 4 years ago, in 1508, that the sea train was put into operation and the predicament of the 7 waters was solved. The sea train connects the surrounding islands. The rails can float on the sea without being affected by storms or waves. The friction between the rails and the gears will make a sound that fish hate. Without food, the number of sea kings and sea beasts has also been greatly reduced. The safe sea train is heading to the surrounding area with hope, so Tom's probation has been extended, and he has been repairing other lines of the sea train for 4 years. Robin arrived at the 7 waters some time ago, and saw the practical significance of the sea train. The transportation volume is larger than that of Pokemon. The mechanical locomotive does not need to rest. The special sea rails can avoid wind and waves and tsunamis, greatly improving the operating efficiency. However, the cost is relatively high. In recent years, only a few lines have been laid in the 7 waters. It is not realistic to want to popularize it on a large scale, but the income brought by the behemoth of the 100 Beasts fruit can theoretically support the construction of this thing. She wrote a letter back to Onigashima about similar things at the time, but this was not the reason for her to apply for support. Some time ago, Tizulo launched a new product under the instruction of Onigashima, and a branch just happened to be opened in the 7 waters. When he knew Robin was here, he asked Robin to help deal with the recent sales and financial issues. This new product is the Rotom phone, a Rotom phone without a Rotom host. The Rotom phone inside the beast does not need to consider the battery life issue, because it is a special communication device equipped for carders, and it is a Rotom host inside, which can generate electricity for the phone. But the external version is different. The phone without a Rotom host can only use the traditional charging method, which limits their use range, and must be in an area where it can be charged. The islands where electricity is popularized are mostly prosperous islands, gathering a large number of wealthy businessmen and nobles, and they have become Tizulo's main sales target. In addition, people who live on islands are also the target group. People who always sail on the sea are not suitable for Rotom phones. Not all ships can have their own power generation equipment. Those wind-powered sailboats are more suitable for using Dendenmushi. The main gimmicks of Tesoro are convenience, stability, and diversity. There is no need to feed and water the phone like raising a Dendenmushi, and there is no need to worry about the quality of communication being affected by the illness of the Dendenmushi. As long as there is power, it is extremely stable. It also has a built-in camera, speakers, and flashlight function. After its launch, it received a good response in the high-end market. He promoted this phone not only to make money, but also for more information and intelligence. Security is also one of his main selling points. In the advertising slogan he wrote, there is a bold statement that there is no need to worry about being eavesdropped by opponents. Tesoro even said that even in the transaction of the beast fruit, he would use the Rotom phone to discuss information with his subordinates, because there is no need to worry about being eavesdropped. He was also telling the truth. The Rotom phone will indeed not be eavesdropped by outsiders, because there is currently no such eavesdropping equipment in the outside world, but the beast fruit can collect the information in it, and analyze the information that is beneficial to itself. Because there is no Rotom host, he also gave the external version a new name, Fruit Phone, with several colors and patterns to choose from. Onigashima also assigned him several Rotoms to collect intelligence from all parties. There has been no results so far, but some officials of the world government have begun to use this phone. Tesoro believes that there will be results sooner or later. At first, he didn't understand the intention when Arceus added this product to his list, but after knowing its function, Tesoro discovered its great significance. Intelligence has always been a very important thing in business activities. Only by knowing the news of the opponent in advance can a new round of countermeasures be made. He even prepared a limited edition of the celestial dragons with a gold plate, intending to eavesdrop on some internal intelligence of the celestial dragons. Robin, is your phone a little different? Robin's colleague looked at Robin's phone and asked her own question. It was obviously the same style, but she seemed to see Robin's phone shell flashing. No, maybe because I helped them settle a bill at the time, so they gave me the limited edition. She casually perfunctorily passed over her colleague. Of course, their phones were different. The phone with Rotom was the complete version. Then Robin looked at the information above. It was a message from Sasuke that he had arrived at the scheduled location. It's a bit late. The computer system is out of order. I lost half of the manuscript. Chapter 644. Murloc, half Murloc, CP5. Captain Sasuke, what are we waiting for here? Sasuke still led his old subordinates. Most of the pirates who joined the beasts were like this. The beasts did not intend to split up their subordinates, but let the original captain lead the previous personnel. Wait for someone. This is Captain Kaido's order. Don't ask so many questions. He didn't know who the person to be contacted was. He just sent his location to the other party. You can do whatever you want. I'll wait here alone. After waiting for a while without seeing the contact person, Sasuke told the younger brothers around him that they could do what they wanted to do. But at this time, a familiar voice came from his ears. Sasuke? Mom? Mom? Hearing Sasuke's address, the younger brothers around him exclaimed. Captain, is this woman your mother? I told you not to call me captain. I'm not a captain anymore. She's my mother. What's the problem? Sasuke gave up his identity as captain after joining the beasts. It's just that his former subordinates are not used to it. When they go on missions with him, they still call him by his previous name. Sasuke was not angry about this, but the next sentence almost made him unable to hold back. Boss Sasuke, you actually have a mother snap. It was not Sasuke who did it, but the subordinates next to him. They pulled the speechless man aside and cursed. Are you an idiot? If you don't have a mother, did you jump out of a stone? Sometimes beating someone is also for his own good. Saying you actually have a mother in front of others is simply ironic. Do what you should do. Don't bother me. Seeing his mother appear, Sasuke also urged his subordinates to leave here as soon as possible. At Sasuke's urging, the younger brothers quickly disappeared from his sight, leaving only Sasuke and his mother. You suddenly went out to sea, and your brother and I were shocked. What's there to be scared of? I'm just pursuing my dream. What about you and your big brother? Still the same. What are your plans this time? Just carrying out a mission. I'll leave again after a while. Sasuke had no intention of recognizing his mother. Anyway, his big brother was still with her, and with her identity, she was not a threat in the Seven Waters. There was no need to worry. Meeting would bring new separations, so it would be better not to meet. Before his dream was fulfilled, he had no plan to go home. Being an ordinary shipwright in the Seven Waters was not his goal. While Sasuke was chatting with his mother, his Rotom phone released a weak current into his body, reminding him in this way that the contact person had arrived. Robin? What are you doing here? Granny Kokoro? I'm here to meet someone. Why are you here? Robin called out the name of Sasuke's mother, Kokoro, a mermaid. She came to Water 7 because she admired Tom, but later married a local human. Because she had not been in Fishman Island for a long time, the locals did not know about this. During her life in Water 7, she worked as a beautiful secretary in Tom's studio and gave birth to a half-mermaid child, Sasuke's brother. Later, she gave birth to Sasuke with a fishman. This is also the origin of Sasuke's fangs and horns. He is not like Ulti in page 1, but a fishman. Fangs and sharp horns are manifestations of fishman blood. Robin met Kokoro several times when she was looking for a job in Water 7, so she knew each other, but she was a little confused when she saw Kokoro at the meeting place. Looking at the Rotom phone in Robin's hand, Sasuke also understood that this was the person arranged by the beasts here. She's my mother. The previous news said it wasn't a secret operation. Should it be okay? He didn't know what the specific mission was, but he knew it wasn't a secret operation. Otherwise he wouldn't be waiting here so carelessly. It was unexpected for him to meet his mother. According to his previous memory, Kokoro would not pass by this area, whether he was going to get off work or strolling. Nothing, just a little thing. Robin's purpose in the Seven Waters was almost completed. Some family members knew that her identity was not a big problem, and her purpose for applying for manpower was not complicated. Bring the latest archaeological data and the data on the sea train she collected back to Onigashima, and deal with the pirates in the Seven Waters at the same time, and guard against unexpected situations that she might encounter during the investigation. Those agents of the world government were not secret agencies, but just the lowest level agents. Sasuke's level was enough to deal with them. The reason for dealing with the pirates in the Seven Waters was because of Tesoro. Due to the opening of the new store, the manpower here was not sufficient, and was often harassed by pirates passing by here. Originally, this matter should have been handled by Tesoro, but he has been busy with business expansion recently. Anyway, Robin also needs manpower, so he simply let her handle it together. Sasuke has been sparring with Boss Ghidorah for the past few years, and has not made a big name for himself. Even the bounty is still 88 million baileys before joining the beasts. Therefore, Kokoro didn't know what his youngest son had experienced over the years. He only learned from his words that his son seemed to have joined some extraordinary pirate group. In the end, Sasuke did not choose to go home, but went directly to carry out his mission. The fact that the bounty has not changed does not mean that the strength has not changed. Compared with himself a few years ago, Sasuke has made a qualitative leap. Apart from other things, relying on the powerful defense brought by the city dragon, few people can hurt him in the first half of the Grand Line. In addition, during the chat, he also learned that his eldest brother has married and had children, and just had a daughter named Zimone this year. A child with a quarter of mermaid blood. Although she can't breathe underwater, this bloodline can make her have excellent water skills. On the other side, a seemingly ordinary ship was approaching the Seven Waters, except that the crew members on board were all fishmen. Big brother, what are we doing here? We are looking for someone to build us a new ship and deliver a letter to Dan. There is a genius of the fishmen living on this island. Uncle Tom is known as the world's #1 shipbuilder. This is a new expedition team formed by Tiger. He wants to find holy relics around the world and needs a better ship. The purpose of this trip is to visit Tom. On the other side of the island, CP5 led by Spandam is also on the way to the Seven Waters. Chapter 645 Tiger, Tom, Frankie. On the street, Tiger covered his face with a heavy robe. He was still a dead man in name, so it was better to cover up when going in and out of such occasions. Face blindness is very serious here. Although the cloak is a bit strange, it will not attract much attention. Brother Tiger, the people here are a bit strange. Except for Tiger, other fishmen did not hide their identities, but the surrounding residents looked at them without discrimination. They were discriminated against so much that they were not used to the normal looks. There were some strange looks, but compared with the islands they had visited before, there were much fewer such looks. This is a normal phenomenon. Keep working hard. What we do is to hope that one day in the future, everyone can look at our descendants like this. The Seven Water City is relatively friendly to the fishmen, and this is all thanks to Tom. The sea train he built saved the economy of the Seven Water City and gave the island a brand new future. Therefore, he gained the respect of others, which made the people of the Seven Water City have a certain change in their views on the fishmen. It was easy to find out where Tom lived. Tiger and his team soon found out where Tom lived. However, when Tiger and his team found Tom's workshop, they found many CP agents outside. Big brother, they are all human agents. What should we do? Wait a minute. These guys don't look like they are on a mission. They should leave after a while. Without special circumstances, Tiger didn't want to have a direct conflict with the people of the world government now. It didn't matter if he waited a little longer. It wasn't until Spandam left here angrily that Tiger took Aaron and his team into Tom's workshop. When Tiger took off his hood, Tom's first reaction was incredible. Fisher Tiger, aren't you dead? In terms of age, Tom is Tiger's senior. When Tom left Fishman Island, Tiger was still a child, but the title of the hero who liberated slaves was very influential, and even Tom had heard of it. He had mourned Tiger's death for a while before, but he didn't expect Tiger to stand in front of him alive again. A lot of things have happened. Anyway, I'm working hard for a new goal. Uncle Tom, we need a new ship. Can I trouble you? We will pay for it. If possible, it should have stronger firepower. Hearing the firepower, Tom has not expressed his opinion, but a young man next to him is interested. He is Frankie, one of Tom's 2 disciples. Now only Tom and a few familiar people call him Frankie. In the registration book of the Seven Water City, his name is actually Carter Fram. In the process of Tom building the sea train, he also made a lot of Frankie battles to fight against the Sea Kings. But before he could interrupt, he was pulled away by another disciple of Tom, Iceberg. There is no problem with building a ship, but you have to wait for a while. How long will it take? If it's fast, it will be 1 or 2 months. If it's slow, I don't know. I'm still a sinner now. The specific result will have to wait for the trial in 3 days. With the completion of the construction of the sea train, Tom's probation period also ended. A new round of trial will come in 3 days, but most people have heard about it. Tom's merit in building the sea train wiped out the sin of building the ship for Roger. After 3 days, he will be innocent. Trial? Old man, you are a fishman. Why do you have to wait for humans to judge you? Just go to the sea with us. The vast sea is enough for us fishmen to swim freely. The worst thing is to be a pirate. What's there to be afraid of? Listening to Tom's explanation, Aaron didn't understand, but wanted to directly pull Tom into the group. Young man, you don't understand my experience. Here is my youth and the ties I left behind. If I just leave, it will be a trouble for others. What's the matter, Aaron? Seeing that Aaron wanted to continue to refute Tom, Tiger directly scolded Aaron, then handed Dan's letter to Tom, and then took Aaron and others to stay in the Seven Water City temporarily. 3 days is a short time. During this time, Sasaki didn't do anything big. He just taught a few ordinary pirates a lesson and guarded against possible special situations. The natives of the Seven Waters were all waiting for the trial. They were all looking forward to the news that Tom was innocent, but there was one exception, Spandam. He came here not for anything else, but for the design drawings of Pluto. For this reason, he boasted to the 5 elders and obtained the qualification to come to the Seven Waters to perform the mission. The 5 elders knew where the real Pluto was, but the reason given by Spandam also convinced them, so they sent Spandam with agents here. Once Tom was acquitted, he would have no reason to search Tom openly. For his own future, Spandam had a crooked mind. He sent people to steal the warships made by Frankie, and on the day of the trial, he manipulated those ships to attack the judicial ship. Since those ships were made by Frankie, they had no way to deal with Spandam's accusation. At this time, Tom made his own decision. He gave Frankie the opportunity to exempt himself from the crime of making the sea train, and he continued to stand trial as he did more than a decade ago. For the design, Spandam wanted to take all 3 people to the judicial island, but at the last minute, the judge of the judicial ship stopped Spandam, because according to the law, only Tom was guilty. Spandam could not openly violate the laws of the world government, and he believed that the design of Pluto was on Tom, so he finally accepted the result. Those bastards dared to do this. Big brother, let's go and rescue him. Looking at Tom, who was injured and fell to the ground, Aaron almost attacked the guards. He didn't understand Tom's ideas, but Tom agreed to build a ship for them 3 days ago. The most important thing was that Tom was a fishman, and Aaron couldn't accept that the people of the world government took a fishman away like this. But he was attracted by Tigra. Big brother, are we just going to stand by and watch? Of course not. It's just that the time has not come yet. You have heard that they are going to transport Uncle Tom to Judicial Island for trial, and they have to pass through the sea. We are fishermen, so of course we have to take advantage of the sea. Let's go. Intercept them. During this period of time, Tiger has learned about various situations on the sea, and he also knows where the Seven Waters will pass to get to Judicial Island. This is land, and even if they can kidnap Tom, they may not be able to retreat safely, so he plans to ambush in the ocean in advance, and then they can escape directly into the sea after kidnapping Tom. The last chapter tonight. Chapter 646. Spandam raised the flag. Deep in the sea, the fishermen led by Tiger were swimming quickly towards their destination. Although the fishermen were not as fast as the mermaids, they were the first echelon in the sea, second only to the mermaids. The direction of the pursuit was easy to determine. At that time, Spandam had told Tom in public that Tom would be sent to Judicial Island for trial by the sea train he built. As long as they followed the track leading to Judicial Island, they would be able to find the sea train that was escorting Tom. Big brother, there is a small boat on it. It seems that Tom's human disciple is on the boat, and there is a frog that can swim freely next to him. The place where they swam was not too far from the sea surface, so they could roughly see the situation on the sea surface. Brother Tiger, that guy seems to want to save Tom too. Should we change our plan? No, he has nothing to do with us. Once we let them send people to Judicial Island, we will have no chance. If he has an idea, it's just right. After he takes action, the enemy's vigilance may be reduced, so we can maintain the original plan. The track of the sea train is laid for a long distance. Tiger chose the middle of the track, where the current is relatively the most dangerous, which is more convenient for them to move. As long as the sea train can enter the water, those currents will cause them enough trouble. Normal tracks cannot be built here, but the track of the sea train is very strange. It is not as strong as the rails on land, but floats in the sea like a soft rope, so it can exist in the dangerous current. The metal used to make it is not ordinary steel. It is not only extremely corrosion resistant, but also has strong ductility. It will rise and fall with the waves. When there is no sea train passing, the track is basically underwater, allowing most ships to pass over it. Otherwise, with the completion of the track, the Seven Water City will become a disguised island. Tiger and his companions continued to swim forward with the current. After a while, the current around them became much more turbulent than before, which also meant that they had reached the predetermined location. Almost done. Break this section of the railroad and rescue Tom here. It's a pity. This is also Uncle Tom's hard work. Aaron, you take people over there, and I'll do this. Looking at the winding railroad in front of them, it took Tom and his men 14 years to build it, but if they want to rescue Tom, this is the way with the highest success rate. They can also break into the train directly, but there will inevitably be certain casualties. It is inevitable that some of these agents are stronger, and it is most advantageous to turn the environment into their home ground. Tiger also advocates peaceful coexistence, but the enemy is not within his scope. Several fishermen took out hatchets and machetes and chopped at the railroad, but soon they found that this was useless. Even if the fishermen were stronger, their weapons only left a few white marks. Brother Alang, you can't break it. Yeah, this rail is too strong. My knife is bent. Tiger's side was fine. With his brute force, the rail gradually deformed in his hand like a twist, but the other side was different. Ordinary fishermen had no way to deal with this solid rail. Get out of the way, let me do it. Alan pushed away a few of his brothers, came to the rail and bit it. The teeth and metal made a harsh friction sound. At this time, Alan was like a rodent, gnawing at the rail in front of him bit by bit. The shark fishman gave him the ability to regenerate teeth quickly. After several sets of teeth were broken, Alan achieved results. Brother, it's done. Everyone dive. Wait for my signal before taking action. Don't fight. Our goal is to save people, and retreat immediately after rescuing Tom. Then they used a few seaweeds to temporarily connect the broken rails. It couldn't be seen from the train that it was shaky, but as long as the sea train passed by, those few seaweeds could not withstand such power. Tiger and others were waiting for the opportunity underwater, and the sea train was also running at high speed. On the train, Tom was the only outsider, except the agents of the world government. Because he did not trust those ordinary drivers, Spandam asked his men to take over the operation of the train. He was lying in the luxury carriage with bandages wrapped around him. He was hit in the face by the butt of a gun by the angry Frankie. This directly disfigured him, and even plastic surgery could not save him. In addition to his face, the rest of his body was wrapped in bandages, making him the most seriously injured person among all CP5. His subordinates were no longer surprised by this. Their boss was a waste. From CP1 to CP8, even the secretary in the office could fight better than him. That idiot Carter Frame actually used his body to resist the sea train. He should be dead now. What a pity. I wanted to hang Tom myself after I dealt with him. When Spandam was talking to himself, the movement of the corner of his mouth moved the wound on his face, and his expression suddenly became very colorful. He wanted to move, but didn't dare to move, so he could only lie back on the chair like a zombie. Hey, how long will it take to get to Judicial Island? Report to Commander Spandam. It will take about an hour. Do you need to ask the driver to go faster? This sea train seems to be able to speed up. No need. There won't be another idiot like Carter Frame. Let him drive steadily. When we get to Judicial Island, I'll see if that stinky fishman can still be stubborn. Judicial Island is nominally a place of trial, but in fact it is just a process. There is no such thing as innocence for prisoners sent to Judicial Island. No matter if they are wronged or not, as long as they arrive at Judicial Island, their only identity is a criminal. Either death penalty or life imprisonment. There has been no exception in the past 800 years. It is also a key agency of the world government, with nearly 10,000 garrisons stationed there all year round. It can be said that, as long as he gets there, he doesn't have to worry about accidents. Compared with the speed, the pain of the wound caused by the bumps made him feel upset. Contact a doctor for me. What are those quacks in the Seven Waters bandaging me? Before Spandam finished complaining, he suddenly felt dizzy, and then his face hit the glass of the carriage, and his wailing sounded throughout the sea train. Arsehole, what's going on? What happened? Spandam, who was pressed down by several agents, pushed away the people on his body and angrily questioned the people next to him. The designers of the sea train considered the accident of derailment. Except for the locomotive, its carriages are relatively light overall, and can even be used directly as ships, after being split in half. The impact of the derailment caused the locomotive to plunge into the sea, but most of the carriages were still floating on the sea. Oh no. Someone is snatching prisoners. It's a fishman. Ah. Before Spandam could recover, an early warning came from the nearby carriage, and another strong current rushed in along the carriage. Fishman Jutsu water hard sea current shoulder throw. Tiger held the strong sea current in his hand and poured it directly into the carriage. Other fishmen also attacked the carriage from all directions. Chapter 647, The Alien Don Quixote. The current swept through every carriage, and the fishermen soon arrived at Tom's location. You guys. Brother Tiger brought us to rescue you. Senior Tom, let's go. Aladdin held a trident and knocked down a guard in the room. CP5 is not CP9. They are stronger than ordinary people, but in a water-filled environment, they are no match for the fishmen. Spandam and the others wanted to get some information from Tom, so they treated his gunshot wounds urgently. Although he was already in his 70s, Tom was still very healthy. Under the leadership of Aladdin and Aaron, they quickly left the ship box and retreated to the place they had decided before. The attack of the fishmen was sudden, and they retreated quickly. When everyone reacted, Tiger and the others had disappeared in the vast sea. Except for some guards in Tom's carriage who were killed, most of the remaining people were just injured. Looking at the turbulent currents around them, they had no way to deal with the escaped fishmen, and could only wait for rescue in the floating carriage. At the same time, rescue work for Spandam was also launched. Although this officer is a waste, his father has a strong relationship. If Spandam really dies here, it will be difficult for them. And Spandam is also very tough. The agents finally rescued the swollen Spandam. On an island near the Seven Waters, Aladdin further treated Tom's wound. Thank you very much, but I have to break my promise. In this situation, I'm afraid I can't help you build a ship for a while. Tom knew what Judicial Island meant. If it weren't for his disciples, he would not bear this responsibility. Tiger and his men rescued him, but it was impossible for him to return to the Seven Waters. It would not be good for him to be exposed to the public. It doesn't matter. There is still plenty of time. Let's find a safe place. We can build a new ship together. But Uncle Tom, what are your plans next? Tiger didn't care about the delay. With Tom, the world's #1 shipbuilder, the construction of the ship was just a matter of time. Let's take it one step at a time. It's not convenient for me to go back to the Seven Water capital and Fishman Island now. Uncle Tom, the purpose of asking you to build a ship is to set up an expedition team to find something. Now we are still lacking an excellent shipbuilder. Why don't you join us? If you don't want to continue the adventure, I have a good place to go, where you should be able to display your ambitions. Tiger took out a small waterproof notebook. When Aaron and other people who have been following Tiger for a long time saw the notebook, they knew what was going to happen. That was Tiger's new hobby during this period, missionary. It's just that people's situations are different. Tom didn't have a direct epiphany like Tiger. He temporarily joined Tiger's team. Living with his compatriots is also a good future. On the other side, the prisoners escorted by Spandam were robbed, and they were robbed on the way to an important institution of the world government. This is a very serious matter for the world government. Through questioning the survivors, they drew several portraits, based on the description. Although there was no portrait of Tiger, they were all members of the Sun Pirates. The world government couldn't find where Tom went, but they could find Fishman Island and Jinbei. Jinbei, are these people all members of the Sun Pirates? Don't you have anything to explain about this? No, they have already quit the Sun Pirates. Jinbei, we have no other intentions. Hand over the kidnapped prisoners and those people, and there will be no problem with Fishman Island and your position as a Shichibuke. If you find a pirate, you go to the country where he was born. How many countries are left in the world? Which island can guarantee that there have never been pirates here? Jinbei came to the world government office in the Sabaody archipelago at their request, to explain the vicious incident that happened. Originally, the world government sent these people to Fishman Island to question Neptune in person, but they did not dare to go to Fishman Island, so they changed to this method. Whether it was the red face or the white face, Jinbei acted indifferent and answered everything fluently, but he had nothing to do with the death of those people. Why did they quit the Sun Pirates? Because you killed Brother Tay. When mentioning this, Jinbei directly made a move to flip the table, which scared the officials opposite. As Jinbei said, if we hold the country and others responsible, because we can't find the real owner, there won't be many people left in this ocean. The world government didn't intend to take action against Fishman Island and Jinbei. They really don't want to take care of Fishman Island, but they don't want to force them into a desperate situation. If Fishman Island with a population of 5 million is forced to rebel, it will be a disaster for the ocean. As one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Jinbei can barely be regarded as the face of the world government, and he can't slap himself in the face. The most important thing about Tom is the design of Pluto, but after being arrested, every part of his body was searched, and the design of Pluto was not on him. The 5 elders also know where the real Pluto is. If it weren't for Spandam's exaggerated words, the previous actions might not have happened. The accountability at this time is more to give himself a step down. Just when the conversation was deadlocked, the official who was questioning suddenly received a call from above, saying that the matter was over. The official in charge was confused, and Jinbei didn't understand what was going on, but returned to Fishman Island with new news. Mirijoa, the 5 elders, the highest authority of the world government, were also discussing this matter. They withdrew the officials because they found a suitable step, but this step also made them feel a little strange. Why did Musket make this suggestion? I don't know. He should just like Fishman slaves. I heard that he went to Fishman Island a while ago and suffered a shipwreck there. In the end, the princess of the kingdom of Ryugu personally accompanied him back to the Holy Land. Don Quixote Musket, a celestial dragon, was the one who made the suggestion that the world government put that matter aside for the time being. Since he returned from Fishman Island, he seemed to have changed his personality. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. People can't remember the design. Instead of worrying about this, it's better to worry about the Hades under Wano country being dug out by Kaido. Isn't he looking for stones all over the world? Pirates like this are less troublesome than guys like Roger, but what you said is also true. It's not surprising that there are more weirdos in the Don Quixote family. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648, 2 Years in a Hurry, Sky Taxi. The five elders are very clear about the characteristics of the celestial dragons in the Holy Land, and during this period, the celestial dragons often do some strange things. For example, the Flanders family inexplicably intervened in the matter of a child star and an entertainment boat. But compared to the feats of the Don Quixote family, what the Flanders family did was simply a trivial matter. Many years ago, Don Quixote Mingu gave up his identity as a celestial dragon because he wanted to live an ordinary life. He was too kind and almost became an alien in the group of celestial dragons, and his son was also a madman in the eyes of the five elders, because Doflamingo actually wanted to rejoin the celestial dragons with a Mingu's head. Musgood, who likes fishman slaves, has changed his entire concept since he went to Fishman Island. Not long ago, Doflamingo also robbed Tenjikin and used that secret as a threat to obtain the position of the 7 warlords of the sea, and began his own actions in Dressrosa. The 3 people of the Don Quixote family have made the 5 elders slightly accustomed to them, and they can only say that they are not surprised by their abnormality. It's just a fishman. It won't cause any impact. But why does Doflamingo, that brat, know that secret? The knife in the hand of the bold 5 elders was slightly unsheathed, and a hint of cold light flashed on it. If they hadn't been cautious, they would never let Doflamingo go. I don't know, but the cleansing is not decided by us. Lordum's time has not come yet. We just need to wait. No matter what happened on the sea, it didn't matter to the 5 elders. If a person affected them, they would erase this person. If an island affected them, they would erase this island. They have done this countless times in history. As long as Im is still there, in the cognition of the 5 elders, they are still invincible. Moving his eyes downward, just below Mirajoa, Jinbei also returned here. After obtaining the position of Shichibuke, he stayed in Fishman Island most of the time. Occasionally, he would enter the New World to visit the Whitebird pirates who protected Fishman Island, and also met the Beast pirates who saved Tiger. In most cases, he would choose to protect the safety of Fishman Island. With the new news, Jinbei quickly returned to Ryugu Castle. King Neptune, Princess Otterheim, it's alright now. That incident is completely over. Just like that, I seem to hear them mention the celestial dragons. Maybe the celestial dragon that the princess rescued before helped us, but can people like that really change? People always change. I believe that not all celestial dragons are like that. It seems that he has changed. Musgood particularly likes fish slaves. The reason why he went to Fishman Island was to take back the liberated slaves. Fishman Island has undergone great changes now, and the fishman slaves outside are almost extinct. However, Musgood was attacked by the Sea King during his voyage. Although he drifted to Fishman Island alive, he was also seriously injured. The fish people who were originally enslaved by him planned to take the opportunity to kill him and complete their revenge, but Otterheim stopped them. In order to prove to more residents of Fishman Island that there are not only dangers outside, Otterheim personally sent Musgood back to the Holy Land after his injuries recovered. Due to Otterheim's special physique, this is almost the most perfect proof. At present, it seems that Musgood has indeed changed, but whether he was really moved by Otterheim and decided to reform himself, or whether he was influenced by Otterheim's observation haki on the way, only he himself knows. Time is passing unknowingly, and all parts of the world are developing silently. It is already the middle of 1514. In the past 2 years, Doflamingo has been carrying out his plan in Dressrosa. The gold mining Kakoyasi village has been successfully mined. Although the orange orchard still exists, it has simply become a food production area for Heracles, and the entire village has begun industrial transformation. Zoro and Shimotsuki villages still training hard, and Arcray in the sea inexplicably transferred to a strange island, and began his new exploration. On Fawcett Island, Curler, who thought Tiger was dead, left his home, joined the Revolutionary Army, and became a member of the Revolutionary Army. Hawkeye came to Krakana Island, which was destroyed by the war, and settled here. Grand Isoro has become a world-renowned entertainment city and the largest economic center in the New World. Yuta has become a well-known singer, but she is still far from her goal. The Red Hair Pirates have not yet become the Emperor of the Sea, but they have become the most powerful pirates under the Emperor of the Sea. The forces under the command of the Beasts and the friendly forces are still looking for the historical text in the Slate of Arceus. but the effect is not obvious. Yamato, Jack, Mariah, Sasuke, and Fozefo, they have also gradually become more famous on the sea as the new generation of cadres. Great changes have also taken place in the Navy. Sora was promoted to the Chief Marshal of the three armed forces of the world government, Sengoku took over the position of the Admiral of the Navy, and Sakazuki, Borsalino, and Hyuzen were also promoted to Admirals of the headquarters under the code names of Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji. After many years, the positions of the three admirals of the Navy have been filled again. But Zephyr suffered a heavy blow. The training ship he led was attacked by pirates. All of his beloved students, except Ain and Bins, were killed, and his right arm was also seriously injured. Both his body and mind suffered a heavy blow. The three new generation of admirals led the Navy to launch a series of actions, but their monster-like strength did not calm the sea, and the number of pirates going out to sea continued to increase day by day. Under such circumstances, a new action was also started within the 100 Beasts, transportation. It was not to let Tom build a sea train. Tom is still adventuring with Tiger and has not come to the territory of the 100 Beasts. The current shipping can still meet the needs of the 100 Beasts, but the speed is a little slower. Not all cadres can fly, and ordinary people in the territory also need faster and more convenient transportation. In this case, the business of sky taxis has gradually become popular. Based on steel slabs, a large number of steel armored crows appeared on the sea. Tanabata Bluebird and Millennium Dragon became the means of transportation inside Onigashima because their backs were softer and more comfortable, while on the outside, they were gradually replaced by steel armored crows. As the name suggests, their feathers have changed during the evolution process. Except for the soft feathers on the chest, the rest of the feathers have become steel. Although the body is heavy, the steel armored ravens can still fly freely in the sky. The power contained in the body is also the reason why they act as sky taxis. Chapter 649, Steel Armored Raven and the Arranged Marriage Enthusiast. Their claws are also covered with a layer of steel armor, which can steadily grab the special carriage and bear the weight of the passengers and the carriage itself. In the sky, the steel crows are overlord level creatures. There are no monsters like Sea Kings in the sky. The steel armor and the strange power in their bodies make them fearless of native birds, and even the extreme climate of the new world cannot do anything to them. Even if knives rain from the sky, they can steadily take passengers to their destination. And the steel crows also have very smart minds. They can also respond better to emergencies on the sea. Above the track, a slightly larger steel crow grabbed the carriage and observed the surrounding environment. After confirming that it was safe, it landed on the ground with the carriage. Like the Tanabata Bluebird, the steel crows also have different sizes to receive guests of different sizes. It's just that these steel crows, which can be called the overlords of the sky, are a little scared at this time, not because of anything else, but because this is Onigashima. They are not afraid of most Pokémon, except for one Pokémon Giant Forge. But among the many Pokémon living on Ghost Island, there is a Pokémon called Giant Forge. Pokémon itself also has an ecological chain. The cute Giant Forge can be said to be the nemesis of Steeljaw. The Giant Forge here will not actively attack Steeljaw, but there was an accident before. At that time, the Giant Forges were playing baseball, which was a game they studied for forging ore. Through the Giant Forge's repeated hammering, the impurities in the metal were removed. A Giant Forge accidentally used more force and accidentally injured a passing Steeljaw. Although the Giant Forge apologized, the leader of the Steeljaw was very dissatisfied at the time and went to the leader of the Giant Forges to duel angrily. Afterwards, although there were more Steeljaws, they did not beat the Giant Forge, and they had a certain psychological shadow on them since then. Arceus did not intervene in this matter. To him, this was just a fight between children. As long as there was no breakup, there was no need for additional mediation. The carriage was put on the ground by Steel Crow, and Yamato and Ulti walked out of it. Then Steel Crow took the carriage back to his residence on Sky Island. I will never go to that place again. That woman actually wanted to take away my little pay. Sister, don't say such misleading words, and isn't she interested in all of us? The woman Ulti was talking about was Charlotte Lindling. The three of them went to attend Charlotte Lindling's tea party, but at the tea party, Charlotte Lindling's old illness came back. It was not food cravings, but her blind date love syndrome. Charlotte Linling already had many husbands. The tea party was held this time because Charlotte Annina, the 39th daughter of the Charlotte family and the 85th child of Charlotte Linling, was born. This was also Charlotte Linling's last child. At this time, she was no longer interested in finding a husband, but she still had her own children. Charlotte Linling has always advocated arranged marriages, and this time she became interested in Yamato and others. In the past, she would only let her children marry pirates who joined her, but the Beast's pirates was an exception. The Beasts could not be merged into Big Mom, although she had a lot of friendship with Kaido, and was very familiar with Kaido. But because of this, Charlotte Linling knew that Kaido would not be willing to be inferior to others. Similarly, she could not accept this, so she made an exception, and wanted her children to marry each other. But whether it was Yamato, Ulti, or Page 1, they were not interested in this. Yamato and Page 1 were simply not interested in the opposite sex, and Ulti only had a possessive desire for her younger brother. Whoever wanted to snatch her younger brother would be on her blacklist. Mariah's target was Kaido, and Yamato had no interest in men, so Ulti could get along well with them. In contrast, Charlotte Linling, who wanted to find a wife for Page 1, naturally became someone she hated, and she included the kingdom of Totland in her forbidden area. Never mind that. I also think that tea party is meaningless. How about we go play baseball? Yamato took out the Aegean number 7 from her space waste bag. This is a new weapon forged by the giant forgers after thousands of hammers and forgings. It not only inherits the will of the ancestors, but also perfectly integrates rare metals such as Arceus steel. It is the strongest mace at present. Born with it is the 8 Fastness 2.0. For so many years, Kaido's weapon has also ushered in a remodeling for the first time, and has been reborn. Since getting the new weapon, Yamato has developed a certain interest in baseball. No, you should go play with those giant forgers. Only you can stand this kind of baseball. Yamato is not playing ordinary tennis, but like the giant forgers, they are all specially made metal balls. This is also one of her recent entertainment methods. It's just that except for the giant forgers, no member of the 100 Beasts is interested in this kind of thing. The only one who is interested is Kaido, but Yamato doesn't want to play this game with Kaido at all. Kaido is not on Onigashima at this time. He is out of contact. According to past examples, he will appear in the newspaper within half a month and return to Onigashima within a month. Godfather, I just saw brother Zerora go out. What did he do? Zerora's 2 children are gradually growing up. He ends it soon as vacation life has ended. The 2 will take turns to go on missions, but this time Zerora seems to be in a hurry. It's nothing big, just some minor troubles on Sky Island. Zerora is the most suitable person to deal with this. Not long ago, there was a request for help from Sky Island. Intruders appeared there. This is the first time Sky Island has asked for help in many years. Sky Island, located high in the sky, has an excellent geographical advantage, and there are giant monarch snakes transformed by Arceus stationed there. It has been peaceful for many years. Most of the time, there will be no external enemies on Sky Island. Even if there are, they are no match for the Shandians. The number of times the monarch snakes have taken action is few and far between. But this time it was different. The enemy attacking Sky Island was the strongest one in history. The monarch snake tried its best to fight, but it had no way to deal with this enemy. Because he was too fast, the monarch snake did not fail, but it could not do anything to this enemy. Such a battle has affected the lives of ordinary people in Sky Island and delayed the collection of Sky Island shells, so the message for help was sent to Onigashima. With extremely fast speed and the ability to use lightning, Zerora was born to be the best solution to fight against such people. Chapter 650. It's not just rubber that can hit lightning. In the first half of the Grand Line, Gare Island, Kilik was exploring the road to Sky Island while salvaging, but from the beginning, he found the wrong target. For people who have no flying ability, the only route to Sky Island that can reach it safely is the top of the West Sky, but the entrance to this road is very far from Gare Island. The only option for Kilik to reach Sky Island smoothly is to ride the Sky Current. For ordinary people, the Sky Current is a dead end, and the chance of successfully reaching Sky Island is very small, so Kilik has never succeeded. With the information provided by the tavern owner, he also has more purpose. The purpose of salvaging is to obtain living funds and accumulate commissions. Whenever he meets an adventurous pirate, he will offer to hire the other party to take him to Sky Island. But he has not succeeded yet and has been made a laughingstock by many people. Kilik's life has not changed much, but the environment here has changed dramatically. Starting half a month ago, there have been huge thunders in the sky. It was a clear blue sky, but thunder sounded irregularly day and night, as if someone was fighting in the sky. The shadows of monsters often appeared on the sea, as if there were monsters fighting in places they couldn't see. Because of the shadows of those monsters, some people in Mogu town were panicked. Kilik had just picked up the fishing net and was about to go out to sea to catch some food when the roar of thunder and lightning came from the sky again. At this time, 10,000 meters above, Nalan, the Lord of the Sky, roared angrily into the sky, and then a large number of energy leaves condensed from behind him and shot towards the figure in the sky. Beast, you are just a beast. Now this god gives you one last chance. You are qualified to be my mount, assist me in ruling here, and go to the infinite land with me in the future. The man in front of him was floating in the sky with his upper body bare, holding a golden stick in his hand. The lobes of his ears were very long, and had fallen to the position of his chest. Behind him was not the wing decoration used by ordinary people in the Sky Island, but a drum with Magatama patterns on all four sides, and the taiko drums strung together were embedded on his back. Enelu. This is not the place you should come to. There is only one god on Sky Island. Except for the revived ancient god, no one else is worthy of this title. The messenger of God is on the way here. It's not too late for you to leave now. Yahahaha, let him come. Only God is worthy of being my opponent. I will let you know who is the more powerful god. You are looking for death. The chief of Shandia shouted at the person in the sky. He knew the other person's name, because it was not the first time for the other person to come here. Half a month ago, when Kilik often heard thunder in the clear sky, Enelu came to Angel Island for the first time. Sky Island is a general term for all islands floating in the air, not a specific island. Shandora was washed to the Sky Island called Angel Island by the sea current, but this is only one of them. It's just because of the problem of popularity, but when Sky Island is mentioned, most people's reaction is to Angel Island. There is another Sky Island near Angel Island, called Bika, which is also the place where Enelu was born, but not long ago, he destroyed Bika with his own hands, and led some men to attack here. The goal is to completely occupy Arceus, which is the part of Gare Island that was washed up into the sky. Because he accidentally ate the thunder fruit, Enelu was invincible in Bika, which gave him the illusion that he was a god. There is no soil on Sky Island, so Arceus is called the Island of Holy and God, and it has become Enelu's own territory in his heart. Sky Island, which occupies a geographical advantage, was originally like a paradise. There are only a handful of King Hay pirates who can reach here in a year, and most pirates are not opponents of the defenders here. The naturally warlike Shandia people, the Sky Island people who guard their homes, the high quality arms shipped from Onigashima, and the fancy equipment DIY'd using Sky Island shells. The combat power of Sky Island is completely sufficient in the first half of the Grand Line. Even if they are not opponents, there are still giant monarch snakes guarding here. It was not until Enelu's arrival that the peace here was broken. He pursues infinite land and thinks he is a real god and doesn't care about the lives of ordinary people at all. On the first day he appeared here, the two sides broke out in conflict. The Shandians were unwilling to give up their homeland, which they had finally returned to, and no one recognized Enel's title of god. At that time, Enel did not attack them immediately, but waited for them to attack him, because after eating the thunder fruit, he became immortal in Bika, and no attack had any effect on him. He was very arrogant, and wanted to use this method to let the Shandians know the difference in strength. The first wave of attacks was just as he expected, whether it was bows and arrows or spears, they all went straight through his lightning-like body, but the Shandians were not panicked at all. Natural ability users. Change bullets. For the people living on Sky Island, the beasts brought them not only supplies, but also knowledge. The Shandians now are not the natives who have lagged behind for hundreds of years, but the new Shandians with more common sense. They are conservative, so the beasts let them accept those new things in the form of oracles. Due to its hardness and characteristics, the outside world cannot make Seaston into ordinary bullets, but the beasts can. With a large number of craftsmen from Wano country, they can process Seaston into various shapes. Under the order of the chief, the Shandians quickly changed their weapons, and the bullets containing Seaston continued to attack Enel. But Enel's ability was not only the Thunder Fruit. The Thunder Fruit combined with his own observation haki talent made his observation haki's perception range extremely large, and he also had the ability to read minds. He read the thoughts of the Shandians. In this case, he chose to dodge. As a god, it was a shame to dodge human attacks, but the information he read was that these were weapons given to them by the gods, and they were powerful divine weapons. Therefore, he was not avoiding human attacks, but avoiding gods' attacks. Thinking of this, he quickly accepted this reason, and took action for it. The perception of observation haki and the speed of the Thunder Fruit allowed him to easily dodge those bullets, but just when he wanted to continue to act, a giant snake revealed itself from the side. Previously, Enel used lightning as his way of greeting, and the lightning just happened to damage the new totem pole of the Shandians, thus attracting the monarch snake. Looking at the snake's tail coming towards him, Enel did not dodge. He wanted to finish the pretense that he had failed to perform just now, but the next moment, the huge tail of the monarch snake whipped him away. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.